nothing of what it is to be afraid.
In what promises to be the biggest cinematic throwdown since Batman v Superman, Godzilla and King Kong are finally rekindling their age-old rivalry in the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong. But if we've learned anything from the many other hero versus hero crossovers in pop culture, it's that these stories usually culminate with the two combatants putting aside their differences to battle a common foe. In this case, will Godzilla and King Kong team up to take on Mecha-Godzilla or Mecha-King Ghidorah? That's a popular theory among fans, and there's plenty of evidence to support it, including a tantalizing couple of moments in the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong. Here's why Godzilla and Kong's big brawl may be just an appetizer for the true fight to come. Godzilla vs. Kong is actually the fourth film in a shared cinematic universe that began with 2014's Godzilla reboot. In this so-called Monsterverse, humanity is under constant threat from gigantic monsters called Titans, and Godzilla himself is basically nature's immune system. He wakes up every so often to fight off these Titans and prevent the world from being completely overrun. While there are a handful of characters who appear in multiple movies, it's really the scientific organization Monarch which ties the larger universe together. Monarch is formed after World War II to study the Titans and attempt to hide their existence from the general public. It's this group that sets the events of 2017's Kong Skull Island in motion. The organization will continue to play a major role in Godzilla vs. Kong, and in fact, they may be the ones responsible for setting the final battle in motion. There's also the post-credits scene in King of the Monsters, which hints at a similar idea. That movie ends with a glimpse of Charles Dance's character, Alan Jonah, approaching the slain corpse of King Ghidorah, heavily implying that his group of eco-terrorists plan to study and even weaponize the remains of Godzilla's powerful nemesis. That certainly seems like a seed that'll bear fruit in Godzilla vs. Kong. The Godzilla franchise has seen many incarnations over the years, but one thing is constant. Inevitably, the king of the monsters starts battling giant robots. Godzilla's feud with Mecha-Godzilla dates all the way back to 1974's Godzilla vs. Mecha-Godzilla. In that movie, Mecha-Godzilla is portrayed as an alien weapon constructed of space titanium sent to conquer Earth for its creators. However, in most of its later appearances, Mecha-Godzilla is instead depicted as a terrestrial robot charged with protecting humanity from Godzilla. Whatever its current origin story with its vast armory and armored shell, Mecha-Godzilla usually puts up a pretty good fight. But in the end, it's only ever a matter of time before Mecha-Godzilla winds up decapitated and explodes. Similarly, Mecha-King Ghidorah has a long history duking it out with Godzilla, starting with 1991's Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. In that movie, humans from the future use their technology to revive King Ghidorah and give him a technological upgrade. For once, Godzilla's nemesis is shown fighting in defense of humanity rather than trying to destroy it. As much as we're all pumped to see Godzilla and King Kong pummel each other, we highly doubt the new movie will show them at each other's throats the entire time. Both characters are really the heroes at the end of the day, even if Kong's story tends to end in tragedy. Eventually, these two monsters will realize they shouldn't be fighting each other. That's probably where the movie's true villain comes in. Again, the post-credits teaser in King of the Monsters hints that Jonah is using the remains of King Ghidorah to build a terrible new weapon. And we might even see a glimpse of that weapon in the first trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong. Those glowing red eyes sure seem like they belong to a mecha giant monster of some kind, don't they? There's also this shot in the trailer of a computer screen that seems to display the schematics for a mechanized Titan. Heck, it could even be that Mecha-Godzilla is running around wrecking cities in a Godzilla skin suit, and that's why everyone's so mad at Godzilla. Or maybe it's just that after enduring several giant monster rampages in the last few years, Monarch scientists are obsessed with building a weapon that can stop Godzilla and all other Titans in their tracks. Using a combination of King Ghidorah's carcass and the finest tech 2021 has to offer, Monarch will unleash a greater threat than anything it's been trying to stop. Whether that threat turns out to be Mecha-Godzilla or Mecha-King Ghidorah, or both, the end result is the same. It's an understandable if misguided mission. Nobody wants to live in constant fear of an enormous reptile stomping through their apartment complex, but as is so often the case with science fiction, mankind may be guilty of underestimating its own creation. We know from King of the Monsters that Ghidorah is an ancient alien trying to terraform the planet. What if Mecha-King Ghidorah retains its memories, causing what should be a defensive measure for humanity to become a greater threat than Godzilla or King Kong could ever be? Godzilla and Kong's wrestling match could be the least of our problems. And then there's also these Funko Pop figures for the film, which feature variations on Godzilla and Kong, including a Kong with red eyes. Maybe he just needs some Visine, or could we be looking at a Mecha-Kong as well here? There is precedent for that, and he's called Mecha-Kong, which is, cooler than Mecha-Kong, I guess. For more on this epic cinematic mashup, find out why Kong is so big in the new movie, as well as why Godzilla is acting like the bad guy in the trailer. For all things monster movies, keep it locked to IGN.
On March 5th.
How did this world get so broken?
I believe that we can be unified again, but someone has to take the first step.
All right, Tuk Tuk. Let's roll!
From the studio that brought you Frozen.
Hold on.
Oh, we were doing a jumpy thing. Oh, so sorry, my bad.
Raya and the Last Dragon. Rated PG. In theaters or order it on Disney Plus with Premier Access. March 5th.
You want out of a time loop, you gotta learn how it works. Black Reef is a puzzle, and each visionary is a different piece. Here's Igor.
I am a respected scientist!
I've done so many loops, I've learned to run circles around him.
Hey, over here! I'm coming for you!
I've tried taking my targets out one by one more than I can remember, but there is never enough time. I go after one, another lives, because right now, half an island away, a different visionary is throwing his nightly cannibal masquerade. Alexis Dorsey.
Everybody shut up! This is my jam.
Igor's a big fan, yet somehow he never makes it to the party. Something keeps him home.
Gold, you there, buddy?
Here's the invite to the party. And here's why Igor blew it off. He made some kind of scientific breakthrough that morning.
I did it! I did it, it works!
That he makes every morning, unless I get there first. No experiment, no breakthrough. No reason for Igor not to drink his disappointment with Alexis. Now I got a shot at killing them both at the same time, in the same loop.
Is that cool? Hey, Wolf! It's time to hunt pink! Hold! I'm talking about you, baby! Come out and play! A little help here!
8 targets on my list, every one of them with grand plans for eternal life. To break the loop, I gotta break the rules. Clock's ticking.
And you just ran out of time. You keep forgetting, Colt. I'm not like those other idiots. Only got one name on my list. Yours.
PlayStation.
We are the forest shadows. Ghosts, running silently between the straight, cold lines of a corrupt state.
Quieten down, don't shed a tear.
They count, ration, manipulate.
There's a wolf in the night and he's talking to me.
They've taken everything from those they claim to protect.
When the statesman ravage and
Authority and
burn
steel
our
will not stop us. We aren't an invading army.
lives of the forest will be right at hand.
We are wraiths. We bypass defenses and strike at the heart.
The ghost of the forest, the wraith of the night. Won't blink twice, he'll be by your side. The stag on his quiver, it's the archer's eye.
We take back what was stolen,
When the hoods both fly
and the people call us heroes.
from the dead of night.
To others, we are rivals. We are all outlaws. But some of us will become legends.
When hoods both fly from the dead of night.
The new trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong promises a clash for the ages, but one small detail has fans asking, why is Kong so dang big? He used to be dwarfed by Godzilla, but now he's almost the same size. So we're going to use the established lore of Legendary's Monsterverse and our own nerdy know-how to explain Kong's impressive growth spurt. The most obvious explanation for Kong's size change is, well, if he's going to be taking on a towering titan like Godzilla, then the script demands that he be roughly equal in strength and power. Otherwise, Godzilla would just step on him at the 5-minute mark before you even finish your popcorn. But it appears this issue was taken into account back during production of 2017's Kong Skull Island. So seeing Kong suddenly the size of a skyscraper, the largest he has ever appeared on film, is actually not a retcon. Kong's height has changed over the decades. Usually he's anywhere from 25 to 55 feet tall, but Skull Island was the biggest yet at 104 feet tall. Yet, even at that height, Kong would still only be laying roundhouses into Godzilla's knees, considering Godzilla is a whopping 393 feet tall in this new franchise. So here's how the film's producers planned ahead for Kong's big grow-up. Kong Skull Island takes place in 1973, and while promoting the film, co-producer Mary Parent said that Kong is, quote, an adolescent when we first meet him in the film. He's still growing into his role as Alpha. And promotional materials for the movie also described Kong as an adolescent super species. So Skull Island Kong was a teenager, and now we're finally seeing him as a fully grown adult. Supporting this in the film itself, John C. Reilly's Skull Island character explains Kong's whole size deal.
You don't want to wake up the big one.
How big is it?
It's bigger. It wiped out his whole family. Kong's the last of his kind, but he's still growing. You better hope he does.
Now, the key takeaway from that is Kong was still growing back when we first met him. So given there's roughly 50 years between the events of Skull Island and the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong movie, it makes a certain amount of sense that Kong would grow up to be almost as big as Godzilla. There's no official comment as to just how tall Kong will be for his monster mash and bash with Godzilla, but it sure looks like he's reached peak alpha levels for his particular subspecies. Well, we're all done sizing up Kong ahead of the movie's release, but we still want to hear from you. Which monster do you think will take home the crown? And what else do you want to know about Godzilla vs. Kong? Let us know in the comments. And for more on the film, be sure to check out our trailer breakdown for some theories on why Godzilla might be the bad guy of the movie. And be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.
I keep reaching for greatness because I'm built from it.
Who bows to who?
Nobody gon' stop me. Here we go.
Kong bows to no one.
Here we go.
Come on.
Knock it off, Todd.
I think Amber's been pretty clear about how she feels. I'm nothing like my dad. I want to be just like you.
I've fought to keep this planet safe. Your power's gotta be due any day now, son.
Morning! I'm scared, Dad. What if I can't do this?
Follow me. Slow down. Land. I said land. Stop! Get up.
I'm actually getting used to this a little.
That's not good.
You need to be better. After everything he's done, how can I live up to all that?
You need to decide what kind of hero you want to be.
That was you! In the blue and the yellow? Why don't you meet the team after school?
May we count on you in the future?
Yeah, I think so.
And bored of this.
We need to talk. What I'm about to tell you will change everything.
I wasn't ready before. Now I am.
You being a superhero is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Now take me flying or I'm gonna tell everyone you're invincible. Sorry, not sorry.
Hello, Black Reef. Colt, my predecessor, has been pronounced guilty of treason. He is to be shot on sight henceforth in perpetuity. Your assistance is appreciated and mandatory. The real party doesn't start until he's dead.
She is not making this easy. Good morning, Black Reef. Another day, another death. Aren't time loops fun? For everyone else on this island, this place is paradise. A never-ending party where hunting me is the main attraction. And no matter how I try to escape, they always cut me down. but I'm one stubborn motherfucker. Every loop I'm learning a little more, piecing together the puzzle. There's 8 targets, and they all gotta die before midnight. There's just one little snag.
You thought it was going to be easy?
Juliana Blake, Black Reef's protector and a real pain in my ass. She may kill me 1,000,000 times, but eventually, inevitably, I will break this fucking loop.
I don't like watching you die. I like killing you. There's a difference.
PlayStation.
Never thought we'd come back here after.
After we barely escaped with our lives?
All I know is we're going to get the hell out of here. Could really use your help.
Somebody! Anybody!
We hid from the world for 5 years.
This is not living. We're just waiting here to die.
We're waiting for Mom and Dad.
They're never coming back.
Kaiju have taken the continent. Help isn't coming.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
Welcome, Cadet. I am Loa. Why did you enter this facility through the roof?
Shortcut.
And why did you not use the ladder?
Shorter cut?
We have a fighting chance to find Mom and Dad. It's like the world's gone crazy. Small kaiju. Him. I don't know what's necessary or right.
Listen to me. We'll show them what we can do.
I advise immediate retreat.
Wrong advice. Together. We keep going!
I'll return to fight.
And if we're lucky, we'll survive the day.
Go, go, go! What is that?
In what promises to be the biggest cinematic throwdown since Batman v Superman, Godzilla and King Kong are finally rekindling their age-old rivalry in the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong. But if we've learned anything from the many other hero versus hero crossovers in pop culture, it's that these stories usually culminate with the two combatants putting aside their differences to battle a common foe. In this case, will Godzilla and King Kong team up to take on Mecha-Godzilla or Mecha-King Ghidorah? That's a popular theory among fans, and there's plenty of evidence to support it, including a tantalizing couple of moments in the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong. Here's why Godzilla and Kong's big brawl may be just an appetizer for the true fight to come. Godzilla vs. Kong is actually the fourth film in a shared cinematic universe that began with 2014's Godzilla reboot. In this so-called Monsterverse, humanity is under constant threat from gigantic monsters called Titans, and Godzilla himself is basically nature's immune system. He wakes up every so often to fight off these Titans and prevent the world from being completely overrun. While there are a handful of characters who appear in multiple movies, it's really the scientific organization Monarch which ties the larger universe together. Monarch is formed after World War II to study the Titans and attempt to hide their existence from the general public. It's this group that sets the events of 2017's Kong Skull Island in motion. The organization will continue to play a major role in Godzilla vs. Kong, and in fact, they may be the ones responsible for setting the final battle in motion. There's also the post-credits scene in King of the Monsters, which hints at a similar idea. That movie ends with a glimpse of Charles Dance's character, Alan Jonah, approaching the slain corpse of King Ghidorah, heavily implying that his group of eco-terrorists plan to study and even weaponize the remains of Godzilla's powerful nemesis. That certainly seems like a seed that'll bear fruit in Godzilla vs. Kong. The Godzilla franchise has seen many incarnations over the years, but one thing is constant. Inevitably, the king of the monsters starts battling giant robots. Godzilla's feud with Mecha-Godzilla dates all the way back to 1974's Godzilla vs. Mecha-Godzilla. In that movie, Mecha-Godzilla is portrayed as an alien weapon constructed of space titanium sent to conquer Earth for its creators. However, in most of its later appearances, Mecha-Godzilla is instead depicted as a terrestrial robot charged with protecting humanity from Godzilla. Whatever its current origin story with its vast armory and armored shell, Mecha-Godzilla usually puts up a pretty good fight. But in the end, it's only ever a matter of time before Mecha-Godzilla winds up decapitated and explodes. Similarly, Mecha King Ghidorah has a long history duking it out with Godzilla, starting with 1991's Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. In that movie, humans from the future use their technology to revive King Ghidorah and give him a technological upgrade. For once, Godzilla's nemesis is shown fighting in defense of humanity rather than trying to destroy it. As much as we're all pumped to see Godzilla and King Kong pummel each other, we highly doubt the new movie will show them at each other's throats the entire time. Both characters are really the heroes at the end. And that's why everyone's so mad at Godzilla. Or maybe it's just that after enduring several giant monster rampages in the last few years, Monarch scientists are obsessed with building a weapon that can stop Godzilla and all other titans in their tracks. Using a combination of King Ghidorah's carcass and the finest tech 2021 has to offer, Monarch will unleash a greater threat than anything it's been trying to stop. Whether that threat turns out to be Mecha-Godzilla or Mecha King Ghidorah, or both, the end result is the same. It's an understandable, if misguided, mission. Nobody wants to live in constant fear of an enormous reptile stomping through their apartment complex, but as is so often the case with science fiction, mankind may be guilty of underestimating its own creation. We know from King of the Monsters that Ghidorah is an ancient alien trying to terraform the planet. What if Mecha King Ghidorah retains its memories, causing what should be a defensive measure for humanity to become a greater threat than Godzilla or King Kong could ever be? Godzilla and Kong's wrestling match could be the least of our problems. And then there's also these Funko Pop figures for the film, which feature variations on Godzilla and Kong, including a Kong with red eyes. Maybe he just needs some Visine, or could we be looking at a Mecha-Kong as well here? There is precedent for that, and he's called Mecha-Kong, which is, cooler than Mecha-Kong, I guess. For more on this epic cinematic mashup, find out why Kong is so big in the new movie, as well as why Godzilla is acting like the bad guy in the trailer. For all things monster movies, keep it locked to IGN.
IGN's Fan Fest 2021, a 2-day celebration of the biggest and coolest in movies, TV shows, and video games, filled with exclusive reveals, celebrity interviews, and most importantly, you the fans. All from the comfort of your own home. No lines, ticket prices, or weird circular convention center nachos. Over the next 2 days, IGN will bring you exclusive Deathloop gameplay, a Batman Beyond cast reunion and table read, Amazon Prime Video's Invincible with cast and creator Robert Kirkman, Zack Snyder answering your Snyder Cut questions, Godzilla vs. Kong, and more. But we can't do it without your help, so check out the full schedule at fanfest.ign.com and join in on the conversation by using the FanFest hashtag on social media. IGN's FanFest. What else are you gonna do for 2 days in February?
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the epic first day of IGN's Fan Fest, February's #1 virtual convention for movies, TV, and video games, hosted specifically by IGN. I'm Sydney Goodman.
And I'm Brian Altano, and Sydney is right. We are absolutely thrilled for all the great panels we got coming up ahead for IGN's very first Fan Fest. There's some seriously cool stuff happening over the next 2 days. We cannot wait for you all to see it. You can catch it all right here or on Pluto, Plex, or channel IGN1 on your Samsung TV Plus.
But only you, the fans, can start this virtual party, so make sure to post to social media with the hashtag FanFest to show us how you're celebrating. And for the full schedule of events, head on over to fanfest.ign.com.
There's a ton of great stuff lined up for day 1 of IGN Fan Fest. Up top, we'll see an exclusive trailer for Netflix's Shadow and Bone, then go right into their panel. Plus, we'll get looped into what makes Arcane Studios' latest game, Deathloop, so unique. Is it the death or the loops? Wait and see. You'll have to find out yourself.
You'll have to find out yourself indeed. And there's even more than that. The day only gets bigger from there because we're also taking exclusive looks at Godzilla vs. Kong and Amazon Prime Video's Invincible, the new animated series based on the comic by Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman.
So buckle in to your chair at home if you have a weird home buckle chair. If you do, I don't care. I'm not really here to judge. Because IGN Fan Fest is just getting started.
And what better way to start than with the first trailer for Netflix's Shadow and Bone. Let's roll the thing.
The shadow fold. A scar on the map. That tore our country in two.
What the hell are you doing here?
I'll make it. Promise.
To destroy it, we need a miracle.
So who actually saw what happened?
We were attacked. And then there was a searing light.
Lift up your sleeve.
What are you?
Answer the question. What are you?
A map maker, sir.
Our map maker? Well, you and I are going to change the world.
This is the Shadow and Bone panel at IGN Fan Fest, and you just watched the world-exclusive trailer debut. I'm Laura Prudhomme, and I'm joined for the first time ever by the cast and creators of Netflix's Shadow and Bone. Let's introduce them.
Hi, I'm Jessie Mei Li, and I play Alina Starkov, who is a cartographer in the army who finds herself in the middle of all the excitement when she realizes that she has this mythical power to summon sunlight.
Hello, my name is Freddy Carter, and I play Kaz Brecker, who is a rising star of the Kestam criminal underworld with a thirst for vengeance.
Hi, my name is Amita. I play Inej, and Inej is she's an assassin with a conscience. She cares deeply for her friends and her crew, but her empathy is not mistaken for her ferocity. And she carries 14 knives, so beware.
Hi, I'm Kit, and I play Jesper in Shadow and Bone. Jesper is Kaz's, let's say, left-hand man. He's not quite the right-hand man, but he's a member of the Crows, and he is a sharpshooter, a gunslinger, and a gambler, and he can never walk away from a wager.
Hi, I'm Archie. I play Mal in Shadow and Bone. Mal is a gifted tracker in the First Army whose world spirals out of control as they are ambushed by Volcra in the Shadowfold.
Hi, I'm Ben Barnes, and I play General Kirigan, aka the Darkling, who is the commander of the magical military elite that are the Grisha, and he has the power to summon the darkness.
Hi, I'm Eric Heisserer. I'm the showrunner, writer, and executive producer for Shadow and Bone, the show based on Leigh Bardugo's amazing books.
Hi, I'm Leigh Bardugo. I'm the author of Shadow and Bone and all of the books in the Grishaverse, and also an executive producer on Shadow and Bone, the show.
Leigh, let's start with you. What was kind of the best part of seeing your world come to life on screen that way?
I mean, that part, just watching the trailer was pretty good. Pretty much done now. Look, there are so many scenes I could point to and moments I could point to. I think, honestly, seeing these actors inhabit these characters, the tiny moments that aren't even in the dialogue, a look between Kit and Freddy, the expression on Jessie's face right before they're about to enter the fold. All of it was so unexpected. And, you can write these characters and try to control them. And that's, fantasy writers are control freaks. We really love to play God. But there's something extraordinary about seeing those characters take on a totally different life and interact in ways you never anticipated.
And Eric, for newcomers to Shadow and Bone, what's the most important takeaway here? What is, I guess, the Shadow Fold, and why is it such a terrifying thing?
Well, it's full of monsters, so that's pretty scary for starters. I would say that it's something that you haven't seen in other fantasy genre shows or movies. It's sort of a piece that is unique to Leigh's world, and hopefully that will get them curious enough to tune into the rest.
So Jessie, your character Alina is described as a map maker in the trailer, but it's obvious that she's got some hidden depths there. So can you talk a little bit about the power she's displaying and why it's such a big deal?
Yes, when we first meet Alina, she is just a cartographer in the army, and she then discovers that she has this mythical power to summon sunlight, which of course from the trailer we can see that the country of Ravka is split in two by this enormous expanse of darkness. So it then is Alina's responsibility to banish the fold with her newfound powers.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
A little bit of pressure.
And Ben, Alina is obviously our focal character in the trailer, but it's your voice that's leading us through it. So can you talk a little bit about who General Kirigan is and how he plays into Alina's story? Because he obviously has some powers of his own.
Kirigan has been hoping to be able to banish the fold, to be able to bring peace to the country, which is a very war-torn country, as you'll see when you watch the show. But we find, all these characters in the midst of the tension of this war that's going on, and Kirigan is ambitious and powerful, and his power is to be able to manipulate the darkness. So it's the opposing power to Alina's. So when he discovers Alina, he knows that she's going to be very important to both him and this world that we find ourselves in.
Archie, your character Mal is Alina's closest friend. So why is he so concerned about her going into the Shadow Fold here, and how does he kind of tie into her story?
Well, I mean, as you can see from the trailer, it's not the nicest place to be. And obviously when she turns up on the boat, he's a little bit concerned for her well-being, and surprised because she wasn't meant to be there. And yeah, they're childhood friends. They grow up in an orphanage together. And Mao really in the series will just go to the ends of the earth to protect Alina and to look after her. So he's a very gifted tracker, like unusually good. I won't go into too much detail about that. Alina is kind of like Mao's home. That's the way I kind of see it. And to have that kind of taken away from him, we see in the trailer, and she goes off with General Kerrigan, is a lot. And in the show, we get to see that. We get to see Mao's journey and him trying to be reunited with her.
Now, Freddy and Kit and Amita, we only see brief glimpses of your characters in the trailer, but they're definitely very memorable moments. So what was your favorite part of what we just saw, and does it kind of bring back any memories of filming?
Well, lots of the show, we're all kind of in different pockets of the story. So to see lots of stuff that we weren't necessarily present for on the day, kind of fully realized is really exciting. And also, I mean, part of the reason that you don't see much of Freddy, Amita and I is if you haven't read the books, then you can just watch the show as is and enjoy it that way. But if you do know the books, then everything we do is a potential spoiler. So if you want to find out, you'll just have to watch. But it was great to kind of see those moments and kind of go, oh yeah, well, that's what happened that day, because it has been a while. And so it's great to kind of go back to the beginning and see where it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, getting to finally see the shadow fold is very exciting, I'm sure, for all of us, because not a day would go by on set where we weren't going up to Eric and going, so just one more time, what does it look like? Because right now it's just a big green wall, and we're having to pretend to be terrified of going anywhere near it, or sort of screeching sounds coming from this big green wall. So yeah, getting to see that for the first time was very exciting.
In the trailer, you see Inez throw one knife in the trailer. And I remember that day, I said knife probably 1,000 times to a very special someone. And I fell in love with that word, knife.
Best story ever.
Well, Leigh, your Grishaverse novels have become a worldwide phenomenon, and now they're being adapted for Netflix. But for folks who aren't familiar, what was kind of the genesis of the story when you first sat down to write it? And what did you want to explore through these books? Because the storytelling approaches of Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows are very different.
So the idea for Shadow and Bone really grew out of waking up in a house. I was staying with some friends in the mountains, and everybody else had gone into town, and I stayed behind to read my book because that's who I am. And I fell asleep while I was reading, and I woke up and the house was pitch black. And I mean, I live in Los Angeles, so I'm used to city dark. This was country dark where you can't see your hand in front of your face. And I, of course, thought somebody was in the house to murder me. They just waited for me to wake up, because that's what serial killers do. But after my heart rate had sort of calmed down and I had adjusted and found the light switches, I couldn't shake this idea, what if darkness was a place and the monsters we imagined there were real, and you had to fight them on their own territory?
No, what if darkness was a place? It should be in a trailer. What if darkness was a place?
I used to write movie trailers, friends. That used to be my
so
job.
good.
Yeah.
I remember.
Love it. And Ben, you've obviously been part of some huge franchises and big hits. But what was the most enticing part of playing General Kerrigan compared to the many iconic roles you've had in the past?
Well, I think I'm definitely drawn to characters with a duality to them, somebody who might come across as not necessarily trustworthy, but then what is there about this character that balances that out? Where is his humanity? Where are his vulnerabilities? Where is, do we see a loneliness in this person? Can we see things that we can relate to in someone who is from the outset seemingly so powerful and driven, And I think you know, the thing for me that was so appealing was this world felt like no world I'd seen before. It you know, it feels like a little bit, you know, with the different colors of the kefters and the different orders that they're placed into. It feels a bit like Harry Potter houses, and then it also feels a bit Riverdale and Lord of the Rings, and then it feels a bit, you know, like this Russian Anna Karenina and kind of fabric to it, and all the status games and tension that can fuel that. And I think it was appealing to me to play somebody who was at the very top of that hierarchy in terms of his immediate power and how people treat him and fear him potentially, and so that was kind of an interesting kind of new avenue for me.
And Freddy, as the leader of the Dregs, you're a rising star in the criminal underworld. So what can you kind of tease for long-time Six of Crows fans and people who may be new to the show about your part in the story?
Well, I'm sure if I say anything too much, then Netflix security will boot me out of this panel and I'll never be seen again. And so there's not too much I can say about our part in the story. But what's really exciting, I think, for fans of the books is that everything you'll be seeing for the Six of Crows will be prequel to the book. So it's all new material. So these characters and this world that you already love, you're getting to see new things from it, and sort of that we're just fleshing out this world that's already so rich and diverse. So that was really exciting for me as a fan of the books to see, you know, Kaz, Jesper, and Inej sort of before we even meet them in the books was really exciting. And then for new fans, there's just so much to get your teeth into with the Crows. I think Ketterdam is a little bit like Gotham and Chinatown and Amsterdam all sort of smashed together. And, you know, if you like heists and danger and drama, then the Crows are probably for you.
Amita, your character Inej is also known as the Wraith, and she's kind of a spy with, as we alluded to earlier, impeccable knife skills. So can you talk a little bit about the preparation for the role and some of the maybe demanding scenes that you had to tackle without going into spoilers?
In terms of the knives, it was so empowering, first of all, to have that many on your body. I remember having a call with Wendy, our costume designer, and she said, so I've seen photos of you and you seem really small. I don't know how we're going to fit 14 knives. And I was just like, 14? Oh, okay.
Well, Kit, I think fans have a particular affinity for Jesper, who's, you know, sharpshooter and a gambler and fast hands and even quicker wit. He's, you know, very scene stealing. So how did you approach playing this role, and what kind of preparation did you have to go through to handle Jesper's amazing revolvers?
Yeah, I mean, that was great. Because actually, in terms of this little group of people, I was a somewhat late addition. I think I had 2 weeks from finding out I got the job before I was actually on the plane out to Budapest to start shooting. So I didn't really know what was going on, and I hadn't read a script yet. I'd read the books, but I knew that the Crows were going to be doing some new stuff. But I remember kind of reading it and going, oh, okay, this is actually going to be really hard because I didn't quite know how to prepare myself. But I remember on day one, we'd had our first like table read of sorts, and the stunt team gave me a couple of these revolvers, kind of stunt ones made from rubber. And I dropped one immediately and it smashed everywhere. So no natural gunslinger here. And I was told that it was the only pair, so I felt really, really bad. But once I was given a pair to go home and practice with, I eventually kind of, you know, got a grip of it. And then we were given the real ones for shooting, and they were considerably heavier. So it took some time, but hopefully what you see is competent and will please a lot of the fans.
You became astonishing at it.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
And we all had to go at it.
We would all do a go.
They're so heavy.
Just dropping them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd pick them up and be like, yeah, that looks. I could do that. I could do that.
That's easy.
In the face or in the. Yeah. Hats off, Kit. Kit is fantastic. Oh. And he learned a brand new skill in a very short amount of time and made it look.
Yeah.
He made himself look like a pro.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's useful for everyday life as well. I won't tell you how, but it is.
So, Eric, fans of the books are going to be really curious how you brought these stories and characters together, since Six of Crows takes place after the events of Shadow and Bone. So what was the process of figuring out how it fit together and kind of fleshing out what the Six of Crows gang were up to during this earlier time period?
Well, Leigh had already done some of that work for us. The story in Six of Crows does flash back to times before that current storyline there. And we could see how, a few characters or a few moments then lined up with what was happening in Ravka in the Shadow and Bone book at the time. And the rest was really just trying to figure out what storyline could fit alongside the events of Shadow and Bone that would possibly provide some opportunities for them to bump against each other now and then.
So aside from aligning the timeline, were there any other big changes in how you translated the novels to the screen?
It's a smart question, and I think it's really about when you make a show and you're bringing more people involved into the process of realizing something that just had existed in literature first, then that translation can create some delightful surprises, and that can be from performance to costumes to set design, any of those pieces, and you end up with a creature that feels lived in and real and a little different, and never as you initially pictured it, perhaps, but that has a personality that ends up being all its own.
I've been lucky enough that Eric has included me in a lot of these conversations from the start, and I got to be in the writer's room and to try to be a resource, and also to speak up when I was concerned that we might be coming up with something cool that might blow up the road in front of us without us realizing it. But I think for me, one of the most exciting things about this has been the nature of collaboration and of seeing the way that something new can not fight the existing soul and characters of the book, but just provide a new way of letting these characters interact. And I think that that's something special, because I think, the books will always have their life. But I think for people who've read the books, this is much more thrilling than a page by page, super literal adaptation. And I you never know how people will react to something. But for me, at least, I feel like the story somehow managed to be deeply true to the books and also offer people a completely new adventure.
Well, I want to get to fan questions, because the Grishaverse fan base, as I'm sure you guys already noticed from being on social media, is so passionate. So we got literally hundreds, like almost 1,000 fan questions for you guys. So we're going to try and get through as many as we can. We're not going to get through 1,000, I can tell you that now. But we'll go through and we'll see how many we can get to in the time we have left. The first one is for Leigh from Gabby.
My name is Gabriela. I'm from Brazil, and I have a question for Leigh. Because Shadow and Bone is written in first person, we only see the events happening through Alina's eyes. I'd like to know how excited she was about seeing the story unfold in a broader perspective in the show. Thank you, guys.
These are the kinds of things that you have to know are happening, even if you're writing in first person. But it was wonderful to see sort of the parts of the book that really have only ever been explored in bonus material, and plenty of things that never were. And I mean, there's a reason I stopped writing books in the first person, because it's actually quite challenging to write battles and tell a story from one POV. But I also love the fact that because Jessie is so amazing, sometimes when you have that first person POV, there's so much emotionality, there's so much that's happening behind, the characters' visage that doesn't always communicate when it goes to screen. And because Jessie is Alina, like, we see her emotions, we see the struggle that she's going through, her fear, her excitement, her pride, her vulnerability. And I think that that's something really special that we found there. So good job, you.
This next one is from Sarah on Twitter.
Hello, my name is Sarah and I'm from Sweden. My question is for the whole cast, and I was wondering what your first impressions were when you read the book, if you read the books.
I remember thinking, how on earth are they going to pull this off? Like some of, the fold and the Volcra and just the sheer scale of the books. I just thought, that's even impossible. But then we got there, myself and Archie were the first people in the cast who got to Budapest. And I remember me and Archie were chatting away on the plane, chatting away on the way to production office, and then we walk in to one of the offices, and there was just all over these 4 walls was just all the concept art and locations and things. And I think we were both just like in silence, just walking around and just like every now and then sort of like,
yeah.
And then it was kind of like, okay, right, I see. This is going to be really cool.
I remember the first time we saw the Volcra or a mock-up Volcra, or like their first initial ideas of one in that room, and I was like, that's way better than what I had in my head, and that's why these people get paid to do that job, and I don't.
Well, I started reading the book, or sort of bought the books as I was auditioning, and then I read Six of Crows first, and I read the second chapter, which is from Inej's point of view, and fans of the books will know it is the single greatest character introduction ever. Kaz Brekker's character introduction is so good that I had to stop because I knew that if I carried on reading, I'd get too attached, and I had to wait until I found out if I got the part or not. So I did, and then sort of, just gorged the other 7.
I bought Six of Crows after my self-tape for Shadow and Bone. And I came in, I got some food ready. I always like to eat something when I'm reading a book. And I opened the first page of Six of Crows, and time just stopped. When I finished it, I looked outside, it was completely dark. And I just sat there for, I don't even know how long. I just sat there soaking it all in. And I just could not believe what I had just read and the journey I had been through in my head. And it was really strange because the book, it was just so good, so good. It's like one of my favorite books ever.
For me, I've been involved in quite a lot of book to screen adaptations, and I've become a bit wary of it because you do fall in love with these books so hard, and then you get the scripts and there's just not time to do everything, and you can fall in love with a moment that won't exist. But with these, I read the trilogy first, and they did become, actually during filming, a bit of a Bible for me in terms of something to go back to. And having met Freddie and Kit and Amita, I could completely just picture them, and that sort of went for everyone who came in to play any character. Really, the faces were just the faces of these people, and actually, I'd known Archie before. We'd worked together before on a project before this, and so when I heard he was in the running to play Mal, having just read the book, I thought this is just going to work.
It's really interesting that, like, even when I'm listening to it or when I'm reading the book, I don't see myself as Inej in the thingy because I love the book so much, and honestly, I'm like the #1 fan of Inej. I already had an idea I already had like a creation of her in my head, which wasn't me because I hadn't got the part yet.
Yeah, Amita, you're missing out. You got to read it again and picture yourself. I'd recommend.
Yeah.
Amita, I have to tell you, when I saw your tape, I actually started crying nobody's surprised, I cry at everything, but I started crying when I saw your self-tape because you looked exactly how I had pictured Inej. Like, it was like you had stepped out of Kevin Wada's art, and then I was very nervous because I'm like, what if she sucks? But then you were amazing. And I just started, I don't know, sometimes people walk in and you're like, they're perfect. And then they start talking and you're like, oh no. You were so incredible. And it was so overwhelming. So I'm amazed that you don't see her in your head. Like but maybe that's good. She's very murdery. So yeah.
And this next one is for Freddy from Emily Hind.
A big part of Kaz's character is that he can't have physical contact with anyone. I was wondering how you were able to incorporate this into the show, if you did.
I didn't go near anyone for months.
It was really, really hard to work with. It was really hard to work with.
I mean, I think Eric did an incredible job of building, we don't get a lot of access to Kaz's emotions and his backstory because he's so closed off, and because he is, as most of the characters from the Ketterdam side of the story are, they are in constant survival mode. But I think that Eric did this incredible job of building these subtle moments, and Freddy too. The truth is, I don't actually know where the line is between what was script and what was simply the character happening on screen. But these very subtle moments in the way that Kaz carries himself, the way that he relates physically to other characters, and also just even the way that he relates to the gloves he's wearing and the cane he carries, which is, for me, emotionally just an incredibly poignant thing as somebody who walks with a cane. Seeing Kaz, writing it was one thing. Writing it was this this kind of way of not quite understanding what I was doing and creating almost a superhero character who shared a disability. But actually seeing Freddy wield that cane and walk with that cane, for me, was incredibly powerful. I so frequently see the villain walking with the cane, or having a disability or something that makes him other. So instead, to see my anti-hero come to life in this way through Eric's words and through Freddy's performance was pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I felt a big responsibility because of Leigh's emotional connection to the cane and sort of someone with a physical impairment. And I think, like Ben said, I went back to the book, and the book says, there's no part of him that isn't stronger for having been broken. And it never crossed my mind to make it something that stopped him doing anything. In fact, he's more scary because he walks with this cane. There's more myth around him. There's more sort of danger because who knows what he could do with it at any given time. So I was really adamant to, on the one hand, make it believable and make it real for him, a real thing that he has to live with. But on the other hand, just something that he loves about himself and fully embraces. He's not ashamed of it in any way. It's something that makes him stronger. So yeah, I worked hard on that.
I also have a fabulous video of Freddy trying to eat a banana with his leather gloves on. which I'm holding ransom at the appropriate moment.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Selena on Twitter, and it's for both Jessie and Amita.
We are so happy to see you guys represent so many young Desi and Chinese women and just being complete badasses in the show. I just want to know, how do you guys feel about it? And did you have an artist that you looked up to when you were growing up that made you feel like you'll be able to do anything you want in life?
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited when I was up for the role because, as a mixed race actor, specifically half Chinese, there are very few roles where your ethnicity is actually mixed race. It's often a white character or a Chinese character, and you never quite fit in. And when I actually first went to the audition, I had no idea that this wasn't from the books. And it wasn't until I started to look at the fan art for Alina, I thought, oh, interesting. Okay. And yeah, so then I thought, oh, okay, so they've changed it. That's really interesting. I wonder why. And sometimes I think when you go to these castings, it's, you might worry, oh, okay, is it just for diversity? Is it just a decision that someone made on a whim? But you could just tell from the sides that they sent for the audition. Alina is talking to Jenya, and they're talking about her eyes, and they're talking about her Shu ancestry. So in this world, Asian ancestry. And I just immediately just took a sigh of relief, because I knew that, and obviously knowing Leigh and Eric and having looked them up and everything and started reading the books, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in really safe hands, because this was something that was so important to me growing up. So it was just, I felt immediately safe. And I think it's so lovely that lots of the cast is very diverse, which is great, but it's not colorblind casting, which is brilliant for diversity. But everyone's race, it all plays into the world building, and it makes this world that the characters exist in so much richer, and so many different people can see themselves portrayed on screen in a realistic way. Alina's part of Alina's story is so embedded in her not knowing where she belongs, which is something certainly I've felt, lots of mixed race people have felt, where, okay, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And I think this show has just been amazing for like representing all of these, you know, people who may not see themselves on screen. What about you, Amita?
To me, Inej is a new kind of strong female character. I think she's such a representation and such an inspiration, not only to myself, you know, before I even got the part, but just to anyone, you know, who didn't think that the industry was changing, because even though it has a really long way to go, it is changing. The opportunities are coming to everyone, and you know, diversity, you're so right, it's not just ticking a box anymore. Like I said, it's still got a really long way to go. But Netflix certainly is making all the right steps. And, you know, Leigh, thank you, honestly, thank you so much. Yeah. That's what
it is really lovely, isn't it? Like you know, I really feel like lots of the female characters in the show as well are just realistic. You know, it's not even that they're strong, it's just that they are fully formed human beings with such like incredible backstories and wants and needs and things. And I think, you know, for young women watching the show and young people generally, to see these characters portrayed so well, you know, it's just, I wish I had that growing up, and I wish that would have given me so much more confidence as a person, just to see someone like, oh, I can be strong, I can make my own decisions, I can just be a bad bitch, like that's okay. So it's really it's really refreshing, and watching the show, it's just like, dream come true for like 13-year-old Jessie Mei Li.
Absolutely. It's I don't know if many people know, but I was born in Nepal, in a really small village. We had, you know, no connection to the outside world. I grew up with being chased by cows and eagles, and, you know, king cobra chilling on your washing line. And I saw TV for the first time. And I said to myself, you know, that's where I want to be. And it was so interesting when I first came to the UK, I was told you can't be on that. You know, there's not many opportunities for you, so you have to change your dream. And, you know, for me, it's a miracle that I'm even here speaking to you guys, that I'm in the industry. And, you know, if I just hope that people really just, what's the word?
Inspiration?
See, it's, absolutely, but just kind of feel the change and make sure that, you know, we're not going backwards and we're going forwards, and that, you know, if someone like a girl from a village who can't read and write and didn't speak any English could come here, then so, you know, you've got a bit of hope.
Not giving up on the dream is you are the change. You are the change. And you're wonderful in this.
Right. So much love was poured into this show, and I hope when people tune in, we've had a lot to try to, we need a little escape right now. And I hope this show takes you someplace new and beautiful and dangerous just for a little while. So I hope you guys love it the way that I hope you feel the love we all put into it.
Amazing. That is sadly all we have time for right now. So thank you so much to our panel and everyone watching at home for being part of IGN Fan Fest. I cannot wait to see the Grishaverse come to life on screen. You can keep up with Shadow and Bone on their official Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages, and Shadow and Bone premieres globally on April 23rd, only on Netflix. Thanks, everyone.
Come on!
World-famous detective Sherlock Holmes gets a lot of credit for solving mysteries, but he wouldn't have gotten far without the help of a group of neighborhood street kids, and that's exactly what Netflix's new series, The Irregulars, is all about. Let's take a look.
How did you know the girl that I hang around with is my sister? Tell me, or you'll never see any of us again. And I think you need us. I think you need my sister.
Your sister has a gift. She can see things normal people cannot.
How did you know she was gifted?
When you spend a lifetime fighting demons, you get to learn how to spot an angel.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, just getting the money.
Something has come to London, girl. The darkness has entered this city. Oh, you think you've known horror these last few days? You know nothing of what it is to be afraid. Don't go far. This is just the beginning.
Hey, do you like dragons?
Not really, I don't.
That's a stupid question, everyone, because everyone likes dragons. They're awesome.
I don't like the dragons, I'm not really.
And guess what? We've got a clip coming up next from the upcoming Disney animated film, Raya and the Last Dragon.
That's not scary, I don't want to look at that clip at all.
Take a look, unless you don't like dragons.
I don't like the I'm not a fan of dragons, and I don't want to see them at all.
Well, in which case, you can just sit there quietly then.
I will sit here quietly, it'll be
While the rest of us have a great time.
It's not fair, I want to have a great time, I love having a great time, I just don't like dragons.
Alright, well, let's watch this trailer.
I guess I'll watch the trailer.
Hi IGN Fan Fest, I'm Kelly Marie Tran and I play Raya in Raya and the Last Dragon. I have an exclusive clip for you that shows that this film has it all. Action, humor, and heart. And my new pal, Tuk Tuk, of course. The film is out on March 5th in theaters and on Disney Plus with Premiere Access. Check it out.
Tuk Tuk, roll.
Who was that girl?
That's Namari. She's the backstabbing Venturi that broke the world.
Wow, those cats are really fast, huh?
What do cats and Droon have in common?
They have no soul.
And they both hate water.
Oh.
Hold on!
That was Raya and the Last Dragon, and coming up, we've got Kong vs. Godzilla right here on IGN Fan Fest. In case those don't satisfy your demand for towering monsters destroying entire cities, stick around because up next, we've also got a look at Pacific Rim The Black. But first, a quick break.
I don't want to see the dragons or the monsters or the Kongs. No more scary stuff!
Has his design been tweaked anymore again?
That's a really good question because that's something that I put a lot of thought in and I kind of agonized over because Legendary, you know, they definitely gave me the opening where if whatever I wanted to do with Godzilla, I had an opportunity to do some changes to him.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
Everybody loves watching a speedrun of their favorite game. But what if you got the opportunity to peek into the minds of the developers while they watch their games getting completely wrecked? That's exactly what happens in every episode of Game Devs React to speedruns.
Yeah, you can do that. Oh my god!
We invite you to ride along with the developers as they react to, question, and enjoy some of the most skilled players exploiting and speeding through a game it took years of their life to create. Join us every Saturday for a new episode.
Still using those tiny phones and tablets to watch IGN? Give your eyeballs a rest because IGN has moved to your living room. Get first looks and in-depth reviews of the most talked about titles.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Pleasure to be here.
And take a front row seat to the biggest events of the year. Tune in on your Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Flex, and take a load off. Tune in to IGN 1.
And we're back with more IGN Fan Fest. Any comic fan can tell you that Invincible did for superheroes what The Walking Dead did for zombies. And later this month, it's getting an all-new animated series on Amazon Prime Video.
All new animated series, Amazon Prime Video. Sorry, I like to do that voice. We've also got an exclusive extended clip from the first episode, and then we're chatting with Invincible's creator, Robert Kirkman, and some of the show's star-studded cast.
But right now, oh no, we're paying a visit to a world clearly lacking superheroes. Otherwise, they would have stopped the giant gorilla and lizard from beating the crap out of each other and making a huge mess. Here's Godzilla vs. Kong.
Making a huge mess! I shouldn't have emphasized that part. Godzilla vs. Kong! That's much better.
What's up, everybody? I'm Damon Hatfield, known Godzilla enthusiast, and I'm super excited for this panel. We've got something really special for you today. Of course, everyone's excited for Godzilla vs. Kong. We have an exclusive clip for Godzilla vs. Kong coming up in just a little bit. But first, we also have the director of the film here on this very show to answer your questions. Adam Wingard, thank you so much for joining us here at IGN Fan Fest.
Hi, great to be here.
So, we've got, like I said, we've got a bunch of fan questions we're going to get to. However, I doubt there are too many people out there that are bigger Godzilla fans than myself. I'm surrounded here on my desk. All of my friends, all these little good boys over here. I've got a couple.
Good door back there.
Yeah, I've got a couple stickers I've yet to find a suitable home for. Got my copy of Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee on Nintendo GameCube. Even my 18-month-old son has a bunch of this stuff with these little plushies he loves. He already can say Godzilla. Yeah, even have a little Mecha-Godzilla back here.
Adorable.
Now that I've proved my cred, I'm going to take the first fan question here, and I'd like to know, Adam, this is the third of the recent Godzilla films in this Godzilla cinematic universe. Should we be thinking this is like the final installment in the trilogy?
Well, I mean, I guess just like any sequel, that's up to if people are super into this one, which I'm biased, but I think they're definitely going to be into it. So who knows what the future holds, but. If the fan enthusiasm's there, then absolutely. Why would we ever end this thing if people want more?
I think people are going to want more. Godzilla's been around for a long, long time at this point. What are you incorporating from the first two films, Godzilla 2014 and King of the Monsters? I know we've got Millie Bobby Brown and Kyle Chandler returning. Any other returning characters?
Well, I mean, it's Monarch itself, the organization, which is sort of what the Monsterverse is kind of pinned around, the organization, the ones that are researching the monsters and all that. They're sort of like the through line to the whole series. There are other characters that show up, but if I told you about them, then it might spoil some things. So this is a movie that has a lot of surprises in it, and there's a lot of things that I can't say. It's really funny. I've just been doing some interviews. I've just started sort of like my kind of press tour recently, and this is the first time I've ever really been on something where I just have to constantly say, look, I can't say anything more about that, and you don't want me to. This is not the way you want to find out about this stuff. Is you want to watch the movie and be surprised and excited. But this is a sequel to those films, and it's a sequel to Kong Skull Island as well.
So Godzilla's look, his design has changed a lot over the years. It changes a lot from movie to movie. There's hardly been two movies in a row where he looks the same. And I think there was even some slight designs between Godzilla 2014 and King of the Monsters. So that's just to ask, has his design been tweaked anymore again?
Well, that's a really good question, because that's something that I put a lot of thought in, and I kind of agonized over, because Legendary, they definitely gave me the opening where whatever I wanted to do with Godzilla, I had an opportunity to do some changes to him. And that's very tempting, you know, but at the end of the day, I felt like Mike Doherty changed the fins to the classic maple leaf look, and that's probably something I would have done. But ultimately, what was really important to me is that I wanted this film to feel like that this was the legitimate Godzilla versus Kong. When I think back to the original movie, King Kong versus Godzilla, I remember like having conversations with my friends talking about that film when I was a kid. And we were still debating who would win in a fight, Godzilla or King Kong. And that film, for one, doesn't really pick a winner. It's very much a draw. It's very unclear and muddy who wins. But I think even more than that, an issue I have with that movie, and it's a similar issue I have with Batman versus Superman, another versus movie, is that, like, just to talk about Godzilla versus King Kong is, you know, at that point, King Kong was very much a stop motion character. That's how we knew him. That's what he looked like. And then, you know, obviously later on in the 70s, you know, you have the Rick Baker version, and that's sort of like what we identified King Kong as, but it's still relatively similar to the original. The Toho version of King Kong in King Kong versus Godzilla, he's so different than any other version we've seen. It's the first time we've seen a guy in a suit, and just his look, he just looks way different than any version. So it doesn't quite feel like this is the definitive King Kong versus Godzilla, even if the movie had, you know, kind of picked a winner. And so going into this, I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about Batman versus Superman, and it's a similar thing where, you know, you have Christian Bale as the definitive Batman in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and that's who we knew him as. When Batman versus Superman comes around, that's the first time we see the recasted Batman as Ben Affleck. And it's kind of in a different universe. It's in the Zack Snyder universe, which is very different than the Nolan thing. You know, and this is just my opinion, but my problem with that movie is just on a fundamental aesthetic level almost, that like it felt like a different Batman, so it didn't feel like the true legitimate Batman versus Superman movie. And so even though I had the opportunity to change Godzilla, you know, and in retrospect, you know, like, do I wish that I made his head a little bit bigger? You know, I sometimes wish that his head was bigger, but he's so cool, and he's so like, he's had a couple movies already building up to this point, and I just wanted this to feel like the real matchup. I wanted you to walk away from this. I wanted there to be no more arguments on the playground. This is the decider. You know, you don't have to debate it anymore. You watch this film. That's Godzilla. That's King Kong. They're beating the shit out of each other, and one wins. And you know, that's it.
Man, you get me so excited. I always liked when Godzilla got really cartoonish in the 70s with big eyes, because at that time I think their audience was entirely children. I always liked that look, but I really like this look. I like Legendary's taking Godzilla as well. Any chance this guy or these guys get any screen time again?
Well, you know, I mean, it would be weird if Ghidorah didn't somehow get mentioned in this movie, especially not just because Ghidorah kind of changed the world, but you know, where the last film leaves off. I mean, everybody's seen the post-cred scene, so there's obviously something in there. But again, I'm not going to say what that is, and you know, we'll see. You know.
And they're the last one standing.
Let's bring up our first fan question here, and this is actually from, we got a video submission from this, from IGN user The Elderly. For Ready to Go, Alexio, roll that beautiful fan footage.
Hello IGN Fan Festival. I have a question for Adam Wingard. With Godzilla on the warpath across the globe in this new film, will we be seeing things from his perspective much in the same vein as we'll be seeing Kong's perspective through the Hollow Earth? Frankly, the first trailer was amazing, and hats off to you, the cast, and the crew for all the hard work that clearly went into this film. Long live the king.
Long live the king, indeed. Yeah, I think the first trailer we saw sort of like opened up from Kong's perspective and presented Godzilla as the bad guy. So I do like that question. How much are we going to be following along from Godzilla's perspective?
You know, the Monsterverse films have gone through so many different styles with the different filmmakers, and each time one of these movies is made, I think that the audiences are more comfortable with it, the studio's more comfortable with it, in terms of allowing the monsters to just be characters, you know. And honestly, I think the audience would have always been fine with it, but it's it's one of those things it's a scary leap of faith, I think. And I happen to have, come in here, in the fourth film in the series, and I have the luxury of, standing on the shoulders of all these great directors who have set up these great worlds and so forth. And, and ultimately right now it's just time. It's like everybody's ready to see, these monsters treated just totally as characters. It's like, there's like a whole cliche about like, people talk about these movies in terms of like the human story and the monster story. And for me, it was always trying to make sure that we're talking about one thing, but we're also not taking away from one or the other. I mean, you have to look at these movies in the same way that you would have looked at them whenever you were a kid watching them. And ultimately, as a kid, you just want to get to the really cool monster stuff. You want the monsters to be on screen. They're on the poster, they're in the trailer. Why do you have to wait around for all this stuff? And we got the tools and we got the talent to do it. And so that's kind of what we do. I mean, I'm not going to say like in terms of like how much we lean towards Godzilla and Kong from their perspective, but there's definitely large sections of the movie where we allow the monsters to guide us through lots of the film and see it from their perspective. And I think that going forward, if there's a continuation to these films, I think you're going to see even more of that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we at some point end up, if these things keep being successful, which I hope they are, that we will see films that are basically 30% humans and the rest monsters. But that's just me. It's easy for me to say these things, but I think it's a real thing because that's what's going to bring people to see them. That's what we're there for. So that's what we're delivering in this movie as well.
Give us the prehistoric Godzilla film that's just all monsters, no humans.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that? I mean, who wouldn't want to see more of monsters do? I mean, you can have the monsters do literally nothing, and it's going to be incredible. Like they can just, I mean, you'll see. We have a couple sequences where we even play with that in the film, just casual monster things, and that's really enjoyable to watch.
This is a question from Eris Gashi on YouTube. Yeah, so will Godzilla have new powers? In Godzilla 2014, he had his fire breath, and then King of the Monsters, they introduced him going nuclear, having that sort of like energy pulse at the end of the movie. So any new powers this time out?
Again, I don't want to spoil the movie, but I will say that you're going to see Godzilla do things that you've never seen him do before. You're going to see him act different ways. And so there's going to be a lot of really fun surprises. And Godzilla is the heel in this movie. I mean, you see it in the trailer. He's causing a lot of problems. And the fun thing about when Godzilla's causing problems is that means he's blowing a lot of shit up and he's causing a lot of destruction and mayhem. And so, for me, I get to have fun with that. That's one of the best parts of making this film is, I get the naughty Godzilla and he causes a lot of havoc.
So you're known for a lot of horror movies. Your next 2016 Blair Witch VHS. Are you bringing any of those horror sensibilities to Godzilla vs. Kong?
I think that no matter, even if I tried not to, I would still do it. I mean, funny enough, this is the first PG-13 movie I've ever made. It's definitely got some gory moments in it, actually. Like, they're still very fun. I was always very conscious of, I don't want this to be disturbing, but I do want it to be gooey and gross and kind of crazy in places. And so there's a lot of things that play like that. Like one of my very first movies, Pop Skull, it was a $3,000 film, and it's about a kid. He's robo-tripping, which is when you drink too much cough medicine, and he's seeing ghosts in his house and stuff. And there's a sequence in that movie where the kid's tripping out on cough medicine, and there's all these crazy, hallucinations in it. There's actually a sequence in this movie that's inspired by that. So this might be the first $200 million movie that has a sequence that's inspired by drinking too much Robitussin.
Wow. Got to get Guinness World Records on the phone. This is a question from Spectre Boy on YouTube. How much time does it take to do a 1-minute sequence of Godzilla and Kong fighting?
There's literally no way to answer that because everything's done so segmented. I mean, you're doing it in different shots. I mean, like the way the VFX is laid out is, obviously you you start with either a previs, sometimes you even start in a sequence just in the post-viz. In some form or fashion, you're doing a sort of first pass animation on the action and on the monsters and stuff. The assets have already been built, but you're getting your camera angles and your action down, the timing and stuff. And then from there, once that's all agreed upon, then you go into different levels of animation. And each level, it gets more and more detailed. And certain shots are just more complicated than others. I mean, the more complex ones, even though they're done in the same sequence, they might, I mean, some of them, we'd get a shot just at the very end of production, but we have other parts of it almost done right at the beginning. So, it's just like every other thing in film. It's like this big mystery when you're looking at it from the outside. It just looks like this big stew. You look at a production schedule and you're like, so you're shooting the 76th page of the script, on the first day, and then, the last day of production, you're shooting the first page of the script. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, from an outside perspective, but there's a logic that always goes in it, and you can't rush anything. It always has to happen in the order that it happens in. So a minute worth of the action, couldn't even begin to tell you.
These are dangerous times. Godzilla's out there and he's hurting people, and we don't know why.
This is a good question from IGN user Kaijuologist. He says, the revealing of Ren Serizawa is a bit of a surprise. In the novelization of Godzilla King of the Monsters, we know that Dr. Serizawa had a family, but he didn't talk about them very much. Since Ren Serizawa is in the picture now, what will his relationship to Godzilla and Kong be like?
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those where, like, if I answered the question directly, then it would just give too much away. And so I hate to be the guy, but you're just gonna have to wait and see, because anything I tell you now, you wouldn't even understand without the context of the film, and there'd be spoilers involved, and nobody wants that.
Yes, luckily we don't have to wait too long to get the answers to all these questions. We are running a little short on time. I wanted to ask you one thing before we go. We learned just last week that you're going to be directing a sequel to Face Off, which is surprising news, to say the least. Not news I was expecting to hear, but exciting nonetheless. Is there anything you can tell us, and can we expect to see any familiar faces?
I would, like I said on my Instagram, I would never make a remake of Face Off. I would never make a reboot. And I've seen a lot of people, even after I said that this is a direct sequel, they keep calling it a reboot hybrid sequel or remake hybrid sequel. It's none of that. This is Face Off 2, and I can't say what that means exactly, but this is either going to be the definitive follow-up to that movie and everything that entails, or I'm not going to make it, because it's got everything's got to line up perfectly, and the script's going really good. Simon and I are almost finished, and Simon and I actually have been working. Simon Barrett, my writer, who I worked with on Your Next and The Guest, we've been working a lot over quarantine, and this was our main project, but we also have an original script we just finished, and we have a couple things we've been working on, so it's been really cool. But yeah, Face Off 2, that's what it is. It is Face Off 2, and I'll just leave it at that.
Now it should be the moment we've all been waiting for. We have a clip from Godzilla vs. Kong that we're going to share with you right now. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us here on IGN Fan Fest, and I just couldn't be more excited to see this movie in just a few weeks now.
Thank you. It's been a blast.
IGN Fan Fest 2021, available wherever you stream IGN and on Pluto, Plex, or channel IGN 1 on your Samsung TV Plus. Coming up very soon, we've got brand new gameplay from Deathloop. Then we're talking to some of the developers from Arcane Studios to ask them hard-hitting questions such as, how does the time loop mechanic work? And if there was a breakfast cereal called Deathloops, what would it taste like? Speaking of break fast, let's take a break really fast. We'll be right back. See you soon.
Yeah, it suffices to say that we're quite excited for this generation of hardware. Like in general, future looks nice. Like when it starts like this, you're like, what about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? You know.
Still using those tiny phones and tablets to watch IGN? Give your eyeballs a rest because IGN has moved to your living room. Get first looks and in-depth reviews of the most talked about titles.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Pleasure to be here.
And take a front row seat to the biggest events of the year. Tune in on your Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Flex, and take a load off. Tune in to IGN 1.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
Welcome back to IGN Fan Fest. I'm Brian Altano, and this is a framed picture of Godzilla, my Canadian girlfriend who goes to a different school. If you're scared of monsters, that Godzilla vs. Kong clip was probably really upsetting for you, and I'm sorry because we have several more monster videos on the way. Yeah, that's a threat. In a little while, we've got a brand new clip from Monster Hunter the movie, which has monsters in it and in the title. And right now, the Netflix animated series Pacific Rim: The Black, which also has monsters in it. But hey, at least they have big robots to fight, and if you love robots, you get to see those too. But monsters are better! Monsters!
I know!
They've initiated the Black.
Get to Sydney any way you can. We've lost the continent.
We're on our own.
Let's go get our kids.
Mommy, please don't go!
Why won't you stay with us?
Because help isn't coming. So we need to go get it.
Nothing will ever keep us from you. Don't worry. They'll come back. They always come back.
Help would have come if it was safe. I promised to keep you alive.
You've been saying that for 5 years. I know that there's more out there.
Atlas Destroyer? It's still here?
Welcome, Cadet.
What's that?
Kaiju, Category 4. This is a training Jaeger.
What?
No weapons.
What's their story?
We're in the drift. We have to do this together.
Drop flask.
Bring them to me. Just a little business.
Tell me about your parents. Where are they? How have you survived in the Black this long? Anyone looking for you?
Tell me where your vehicle is.
How do you expect to stay alive?
You got what you wanted. You'll be the most powerful man in the Black. What are we going to do?
Find Mom and Dad.
You think you're pretty clever, but you're not. You're dead.
You're not alone. You have us.
I'm not running away this time. We have to stand up to monsters.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, this is IGN Fan Fest 2021, and you got here just in time because right now, here's a never-before-seen clip of Monster Hunter. Check it out.
Hey everyone tuning into IGN Fan Fest. I'm Mila Jovovich.
And I'm Paul W.S. Anderson.
We're stopping by here today to let you know that our new film, Monster Hunter, is now available in the US on digital and Blu-ray March 2nd.
We had a blast making this movie, and we're very, very excited to be showing you an exclusive clip right now.
Check it out.
It does. What is that? Medical.
That was a clip from Monster Hunter. Up next, 16 years ago, Star Wars Republic Commando let gamers take control of an army of clone troopers in a tactical shooting game. And just like most things in Star Wars, just as you thought it was gone forever, it's back for a whole new generation. Let's take a new look at a classic with Star Wars Republic Commando.
Secure gunship perimeter.
Fire in the hole! Heavy, move to cover, now!
That was Star Wars Republic Commando. Man, I really gotta check out this Star Wars thing people keep talking about. I'm hearing good stuff about it. I wonder if they make like Star Wars toys or like shirts to wear. Anyway, up next we have brand new gameplay from Deathloop, and we're chatting with some of the developers from Arcane Studio to hopefully explain what a Deathloop is, and why we're stuck in one, and how do we get out? IGN Fan Fest continues right after this.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
Still using those tiny phones and tablets to watch IGN? Give your eyeballs a rest because IGN has moved to your living room. Get first looks and in-depth reviews of the most talked about titles.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Pleasure to be here.
And take a front row seat to the biggest events of the year. Tune in on your Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Flex, and take a load off. Tune in to IGN 1.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
welcome back to IGN's FanFest. Don't forget to join in the conversation with the hashtag FanFest and catch up on everything that's happening at fanfest.ign.com. FanFest. I love saying that. Coming up, it's Amazon Prime Video's Invincible with cast and creator Robert Kirkman. But first, we'll take an exclusive sneak peek at some footage from Deathloop, the upcoming time-twisting assassination adventure from Arcane Studios, developers of Prey and the Dishonored series. Here's IGN's own Michael Swaim to talk with some of the creators behind the new game, FanFest. That's not the name of the game. I just like saying FanFest. FanFest.
What is actually up, IGN? Michael Swaim here, enjoying the platinum trophy that is the chance to talk to the folks behind Deathloop, Arcane Studios' new assassination saga with a time loop twist. Now, Arcane has brought us such epic games as Prey and the Dishonored series, and now they aim to tell the story of Colt and Juliana, a killer and a visionary locked in a brutal struggle for survival. But first things first, they've sent us an amazing clip package with some gameplay, some explanation of what the game's all about, so let's go right to that, and then we'll be back to unpack it a bit in a second.
Hello, I'm Dinga Bakaba, game director at Arcane Lyon, and I'm here to tell you all about Deathloop. I only have a few seconds to sum it up, so Deathloop is a murder puzzle where you play an assassin trapped in a time loop. But you know what? I think I can explain it better than that. In Deathloop, you wake up on the shores of Black Reef, trapped in an endless time loop that makes the island and its inhabitants repeat the same day over and over. And to escape, you'll have to kill 8 targets before the day resets. These targets, however, they aren't big fans of this plan, so they've ordered everyone on the island to shoot you on sight. So this may be a game about time, but you're not on a timer. You can figure things out at your own pace, in any order you want, as you piece together the perfect loop to freedom. So you're starting over with each loop, but you're not starting with nothing. You'll have a chance to keep your weapons and abilities between loops. You also unlock new supernatural abilities and gain intel on your target. Now, let's talk about these 8 targets. They call themselves the Visionaries, and they're a group of scientists, artists, and party animals. But they're also cold-blooded murderers looking to live forever no matter the cost. So, with 8 Visionaries spread across 4 districts of Black Reef, broken up into 4 time periods, there is a lot to accomplish in a single day. The more you learn about your targets, easier it will be to get them exactly where you want. Two down, 6 to go. You're not the only one doing the hunting. Meet Juliana. She's unpredictable, she's clever, she's the most powerful visionary. And she'll kill you more than once. And there's much more to cover, like all the supernatural abilities to unlock. Oh, and there's also artifacts that modify your weapons in crazy ways. And the truth about Black Reef is that and the time loop causes amnesia. And there are tons of parties to crash. In short, Deathloop is a murder puzzle where you play an assassin trapped in a time loop. But don't worry, time is always on your side.
All right, we are back, and I am thrilled to be joined by Deathloop's game director, Dinga Bakaba, and art director, Seb Mitton. Thanks so much for being here, fellas. Welcome to FanFest.
Hey, thanks. Happy to be here.
Merci, bonjour à tous. Thank you.
Well, hello, all.
Howdy, howdy. First things first, let's dive in. I mean, it must be said, it's in the title. This game is a loop, right? We talked a bit in the video about the time loop mechanic, but just let us know, why'd you guys settle on the time loop mechanic? What's so exciting to you about the mechanic? What do you think will be enriching about the player experience, about the fact of the whole game being on a loop?
Sure. I think when we started on this project, the first thing we wanted was to build a game where you develop a strong affinity with the place, with the gameplay tools, and you kind of become an expert at the levels, the environments, and the powers, etc. So when that happens, you get a level of familiarity and ease and mastery, I would say, of the environment, the space, the options. That is very pleasant. And we figured out how can we make a game where we get every player to experience those environments, like the speedrunners, skillers, like stealth gamer. Or I think that was the first one of the project goals, and we wanted something that is narrative, so not something like a New Game Plus or just incentives to do the same thing without. So we started building all our fiction around the idea of this iterative world, this time loop, and then from there, a lot of various concepts emerge. You start to have a lot of questions about how this game, not how this game, but how this world that is a recurring world like this, how does it work? Mm-hmm. And then we got excited because it's when you're playing with time like that, it's like completely an entirely new way of thinking about your dialogue, your characters, the things that populate your world. And it was very, I would say, intellectually stimulating. And then, of course, there is a lot of great fiction around time loops. So it's exciting to take a stab at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk a lot about the environment and the world, because obviously if you're going to spend so much time in this environment, there's got to be a lot to explore, a lot to discover. Seb, how did you go about designing the very striking look and feel of Deathloop when you first sort of sat down with the story? How'd you arrive at this sort of like Saul Bass amazing retro feel?
It's true that the game in its development, it's coming back from far away. Because at the beginning, we really want to surprise the players with a grandiose environment. So we really did a lot of research and found some references on the north of Ireland, the Faroe Islands. And after a while, we realized that it was very depressing. It's very, it's full, a lot of horrible weather conditions and tortured places. And so we spoke with the design and narration teams, wondering how could we add more to this environment. And we hadn't thought about time in terms of when this happens. And for a long time, I've been really interested in the 60s. It's something that in movies and in TV shows from my childhood that always struck a chord with me. So we thought, well, why not put the action in the 60s? So it made a great contrast between an island that has seen a lot, that is full again of torture, and something very colorful brought by the 60s. And in the middle, we did all our research, and we had a lot of fun with a whole lot of kind of adding some science fiction to it, putting the past to this island, because we like playing in an environment that's coherent. So we started with this base island. We added a layer of 30s and 40s structures, made out of metal with a giant dish and a lot of bunkers. And so that's from the 30s and 40s. And we start the game itself at the end of the 60s. So we have several different layers. And inside the 60s, we worked with a lot of references in terms of movies like Point Blank, movies about isolation like The Thing by Carpenter. We remixed it with Swinging in London with some characters. And over time, we managed to create something that was really interesting. And so it was a lot of Soul Path was the logos, and the posters was the main kind of inspiration for the posters and the lines for the graffitis, for the costumes, for the buildings, and all of that put together, we really have the impression of having people who are there for an eternal party. And we wanted to be in an environment that had a big contrast with what they were doing.
Wonderful. So we've got the setting, Black Reef, which sounds very vivid and evocative and fun to explore. We've got the time loop mechanic. Let's learn a little about our characters. I'd love to ask both of you, but I'll start with Dinga. Dinga, what can you tell us, given that we only have a few minutes, what would you want to say about Colt and Juliana and the Visionary?
So Colt, he's that guy who wakes up on a black sand beach. No idea of who he is, why he's there. The only thing he knows is that he has a horrible hangover and it's freezing cold. And he's going to, start exploring this place and quickly learn that he's, stuck on this island with everyone on the island wanting to kill him. They say that, he's a traitor, that he wants to ruin their way of life, etc., etc. And very quickly he sees that he's quite, he knows how to use a gun very well. He seems to be a trained, probably soldier. Everyone refers to him as the captain. But that's, not a lot to start with. But very quickly he will meet someone called Juliana, who is apparently knowing a whole lot more about him than he does. That is, taunting him over the radio constantly, and she both wants to stop him from accomplishing his goal, like breaking the loop, and at the same time kind of keep him motivated to at least try, but she won't let him. So she's into this strange game, ambiguous game of taunting him, frustrating him, and killing him a whole lot, I would say.
And Seb, how'd you go about designing the Visionaries? We got to see some of your targets in the video we rolled at the top, and I gotta say the Visionaries just look very, very, each one very unique and different from all the other ones. So how'd you go about designing these targets that we're gonna be tackling?
In my references, I had Tarantino, for example, for colorful characters, and they really had fun finding backgrounds for these characters. And we were inspired by crooners, for example, for Frank, the singer, that you'll discover very soon in a video. For Igor, it's inspired in part by Christopher Reeves and other characters. So it's kind of this strange mix with a 60s bowl cut. And so for all characters in general, we were really inspired by fashion, swinging London, everything that's, the 60s.
If I may, just to say a little bit, because it would be a bit short probably to tell you about each of them, but something that I would say connects all of them in terms of character is that each in their own way, they are rich or famous people, they are all young, they all very entitled, and some of them are very annoying actually. So they are really, I would say, a love-hateable cast. While Colt, on his side, he's more of a kind of a badass, but he doesn't fear to be, the butt of the joke. He's into sometimes self-deprecating humor. That's basically how he deals with the very tense event on the island, with humor and with attitude, etc., etc.
All right, so we've talked about how much fun it was to put together. Sounds like you had a ball. What about the fun we, the gamers, get to have? I want to talk about weapons, powers, things of this nature. Now, in the video, you referenced artifacts that change the way your weapons function, and of course, Arcane Studios has a long history of amazing supernatural powers in their games. What can you tell us?
We wanted to build a lineup of weapons. So this is our first, the more first-person shooter game that we've made. It still has all those components of stealth and RPG and adventuring, etc., etc. But there's a strong shooting component. So we wanted to have a cast of weapons that was both, for a good part of them, tentpoles of the genre. Like a good, satisfying shotgun, and for some of them, twist a little bit the expectations. Like for instance, there is this big thing. It looks like a machine gun. So even though it has this interesting, machine gun look, it actually handles more like an assault rifle. So there is a nice twist there. And then you can upgrade those weapons by using something that we fictionally call trinkets. So these are small pieces of metal engraved with the Aeon Program logo that are imbued with the power of the anomaly that is on the Black Reef Island that is causing the time loop. And basically by equipping those trinkets, you can change the properties of your weapons. Like it kind of modifies reality. Interesting effects to really mod your weapons. And on top of that, you can also use some trinkets to actually mod yourself. So being able to jump higher, run faster, regenerate some health when you assassinate someone, things like that. Another main element of progression, you mentioned it, the powers. So they come from even more significant artifacts that we call the slabs. And the slabs are the rarest thing on the Black Reef Island. There is actually not even one per visionary. So most of the visionaries, they have their own slabs, and the only way to get those slabs is to defeat one of those visionaries and take it with you. So those slabs, they allow the user to do various things. So for instance, Alexis, one of the targets, he has a slab called Carnesis that allows him to throw people around, like forward, backward, upward, sideways, etc., etc. And so he will actually use that to throw his own allies at you. I even seen him throw Juliana at me once, which was, I would say, hilarious. And of course, you can get that power out of him and then, use it, etc. As much as we wanted to, to do something very original with this game, a lot of craziness, new world, new characters, a completely, atypical campaign structure with this time loop. We also wanted some familiarity. So for us, the family, that's something that fuels creativity, being able to explore in some directions, but still have things you can, grab to. And we decided to bring back quite a few of the powers that we have in the Dishonored series. I think it's something that will make players feel right at home. And then there is a few twists and modifications. So I think that's a good view of the main player tools.
That sounds great. Wow, thrilling. Well, we're about out of time, but before we wrap up, we did solicit some fan questions, and I would not be a convention panel host if I did not lob some fan questions at you, so let's do that. Our first question comes from Zach Fothergill, and Zach asks, with each target, are there multiple different ways to kill them, such as you can choose between setting a trap, being stealthy, going in guns blazing, or is there a tailored specific way you kill each one?
So there's two answers to that. The first answer is in order to kill a target, yes, there is various ways. There is some ways that we open for you, like opportunities in the sense of maybe using the environment or learning about some dangerous things that are in their levels or making them weaker in different ways. So there is some things that we kind of prepare for you. But overall, yes, getting at the target, you can get at the targets in the way you want. But the second part of the answer would be, in order to break the time loop, you have to, as we mentioned in the video, kill them all in one day, which is, on paper, absolutely impossible. In order to line them up, there is only one solution. So it's really, the game is a gigantic puzzle that you have to solve. And in order to accomplish that puzzle, yes, there is one way to break the time loop, but as you're trying to understand what that way it is, each target can be eliminated in various ways.
I'm going to throw our next fan question at Seb, because I do think it speaks to the design and the look of the game. It comes from Joshua Crisp, who asks, what is the coolest thing that creating Deathloop with the now current gen consoles in mind has really allowed the team to explore that would have been impossible during the previous generation?
Yeah, so there are several things that we were able to do better thanks to the new gen with PS5. The speed of the drive for loading the levels, that was absolutely fantastic. We were also able to change the way we use the remotes and the way we play the sound. Graphically speaking, we were also able to have 4K with textures that are actual 4K and not just upscaled. We have a frame rate that is much better than on our older projects. We concentrated on this game on making the multiplayer work with the invasion from Juliana. That was our main axis. And from there, everything else appeared.
I think you mentioned, for me at least as a player, the main thing when I'm playing or past games like Dishonored or Prey on my, on my console, it was always a game that had 30 FPS as a target. And I think that our games, they work very well with the level of intensity and the reactivity that they have. So it's very nice now that we can be targeting 60 FPS, with adaptive 4K resolution. I think it's fantastic. It means that we have a nice looking game. Generally, we took the next gen as a way to have, to breathe a little bit. It's like all those sacrifices that you usually have to do at the end of the production, like cut the map in half, all those things that happen during production that you have to scale back. This time, that's where we actually feel the power of the new generation.
Something that was really interesting for us was for Dishonored. In Dishonored, we had a lot of big levels that were also very dense in Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsider. And here, our levels are even bigger, and there are a lot of variations and a lot of surprises. So we were very satisfied, very happy with the capabilities of being able to push much farther than what we had done in our previous productions.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're sort of saying in a way Deathloop is the Arcane game that has the least compromise, right? You didn't have to compromise with obstacles or with reality as much. That's phenomenal to hear. Love hearing artists like getting to take their product to a further extent than ever before.
Yeah, it suffices to say that we're quite excited for this generation of hardware. Like in general, future looks nice. Like when it starts like this, you're like, what about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing?
Our final fan question comes from Grace. Just Grace. Grace asks, how long will it take to beat Deathloop on average? Does it depend on how long the player wants to deeply explore the districts and find clues to eliminate your key targets? So I'm going to interpret that a little bit because I assume it varies, and that's not that interesting of an answer. But yeah, how much focus was put on exploration, potentially like, dead ends, trying things to break the loop that don't work out? How much do you expect the player to sort of explore and use trial and error, and how much do you expect to guide them through the process?
There is a chunky, single player campaign here. Definitely the whole campaign about, basically the beginning hours of the games are a bit directed. You're kind of, again, you're that, that cold guy stumbling his way into trying to understand what is this island, why does everyone want him dead, how can he get away of it, etc., etc. And at some point, you're kind of the game kind of opens up, and you have a certain number of leads, because we consider the game to be, we say, the puzzle. Another way to look at it is it's a big investigation. So this is actually what gets you to being able to break this time loop. So this is, I think it's quite a chunky campaign with a lot of investigation. And then around that, well, it's a time loop. It's a world that is iterating. There is 4 time periods, and there is 4 districts that you can explore. So that's nice variation. So you can explore all of them. Each district has its little story over the day. So in the morning, it's for instance, it's pretty calm because the party is only starting, and by the end of the day, it's very messy with trash everywhere in the street and graffitis all over. And then the next day, it restarts again. So it's nice to see these evolutions in the districts. There is a lot of completely optional, both gameplay and narrative vignettes that the players can discover by exploring the maps. So, which is interesting. We love exploration, We love exploration of space, but here there is an exploration of time. I think it's a pretty chunky game. So I will avoid the "it depends" question. But even if you're just doing the investigation, trying to break the loop and finish the game, very focused, I think it's comparable to our former games. And then there is a lot more to explore and experiment and just have fun and play because of this recursive world, but not recursive, I mean iterative world, as we say. And then there is also the Juliana angle that you can, take control of Juliana and invade another player game, and just have fun there. It's not a very competitive mode. It's not about who wins and who loses. It's like what kind of nice stories we can create. I think there is quite a few hours for people who want to sink their teeth into this game.
Wow, yeah, so you've got exploring the gigantic game world, you've got solving the puzzle, all the various ways you can take out different targets in different orders, acquire powers in different orders, a human can enter your time stream and mess with you. The replay value, frankly, is mind-boggling. So I'm going to get us out of here before we all fall into a Deathloop spiral, and that's all we play for the rest of our lives. How's that for a plug? But thank you so much for joining me, Seb and Dinga. This has been a phenomenal conversation, and I can't wait to play Deathloop. Thank you.
Can't wait for you to play it and to invade you.
Thank you.
And that was Deathloop. Don't go anywhere, because up next we're checking out Hood, Outlaws and Legends, and Amazon Prime Video's Invincible with Robert Kirkman in conversation. IGN Fan Fest will be right back.
Still using those tiny phones and tablets to watch IGN? Give your eyeballs a rest, because IGN has moved to your living room. Get first looks and in-depth reviews of the most talked about titles.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Pleasure to be here.
And take a front row seat to the biggest events of the year. Tune in on your Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Flex, and take a load off. Tune in to IGN 1.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
Welcome back to IGN Fan Fest. It's me, your old friend Brian. How are you, though? Are you good? Are you okay? Are you hungry? What are you doing for dinner? Are you saving me some? I'm hungry. I'm coming over for dinner. I just invited myself. Why not? I can do anything I want. I make up the rules. It's all fake. Let's do it. Coming up very soon, we're shifting gears from 60s and 70s all the way back to medieval times to take on the mantle of a classic folk hero. Here's some brand new gameplay from Robin Hood, Outlaws, and Legends.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Willens, Game Director on Hood, Outlaws and Legends. Over the coming months, I'm here to give you an insight into our multiplayer medieval heist game. In Hood, you'll be part of a team of 4 players, competing against an opposing team to steal the state's riches from heavily guarded strongholds. Today, we're going to look at one of the playable classes, the Ranger. This is our twist on the most well-known figure of folk legend, Robin Hood. The Ranger specializes in taking down foes from a distance, preferably before they even know he's there. Mastering the longbow is vital when providing cover for your team or when pulling off game-winning headshots at critical moments. The bow can be used to shoot down climbing ropes from afar, letting you or an ally scale the walls and avoid more heavily guarded main entrances. The Ranger's special trait is Scout.
Guard, here.
This allows him to tag targets for a prolonged duration.
Sheriff, here.
Defensively, the Ranger uses an evade to avoid taking damage from incoming attacks, rather than a block. With your unique gear item, you can flash enemies to make a fast escape, or use the opportunity to rack up another kill while they are temporarily dazed. While the Ranger excels in infiltration and stealthy tactics, sometimes going loud is the only option. Farsight is the Ranger's ultimate ability, letting you fire an incendiary arrow that can stick to enemies and explode to deal damage in a wide area. On top of all of this, you'll unlock perks for your outlaws that can be equipped to change up your playstyle. These can have a huge impact on gameplay, but we'll dive into these another time. Thanks for tuning in to the Hunter's Outlaw Overview. We'll see you next time.
FanFest is all about bringing you info on the stuff that you love and the stuff that matters most to you, and it just so happens that one of our sponsors turns out to be something we all love, namely PlayStation. Let's take a look, presented by PlayStation. Play has no limits.
Taking battle stations, I ain't on vacation. I'm just growing up, living on aspirations. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Let me introduce you to a brand new thing. This life may choose you, so raise your wing. Watch this, watch this, watch this. This is a brand new thing. PlayStation.
All right, we have to take a very, very, very quick break, but coming up in just a sec, we're checking out Amazon Prime Video's upcoming show, Invincible, so please do not go anywhere. I'm asking you personally. It'd be wonderful if you stayed. I appreciate having you here, especially during the break when I'm not here. Or maybe I am here, but I'll be gone. But you have to stay. That's the rule. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back.
So we can't all be like surrounded by a thousand action figures. And not to blow you up totally, but before we started, when I came on and it was just me on the thing, you were talking to those figures.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, Let's Plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
Everybody loves watching a speedrun of their favorite game. But what if you got the opportunity to peek into the minds of the developers while they watch their games getting completely wrecked? That's exactly what happens in every episode of Game Devs React to speedruns.
You can do that. Oh my god!
We invite you to ride along with the developers as they react to, question, and enjoy some of the most skilled players exploiting and speeding through a game it took years of their life to create. Join us every Saturday for a new episode.
Still using those tiny phones and tablets to watch IGN? Give your eyeballs a rest because IGN has moved to your living room. Get first looks and in-depth reviews of the most talked about titles.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Pleasure to be here.
And take a front row seat to the biggest events of the year. Tune in on your Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Plex and take a load off. Tune in to IGN 1.
What's up, everybody?
Good day, everyone.
皆さんこんにちは。
Hallöchen.
Всем привет.
大家好.
안녕하세요.
What's going on, everyone? This is a message from your friends around the globe at IGN.
今はグローバルなコミュニティが最も大切な時代です。
La plupart de nos jeux, de nos séries, de nos films favoris sont d'énormes licences globales.
بس كل ما دورنا أكتر حوالين العالم
tym bardziej niesamowite rzeczy odkrywamy.
जो दुनिया भर के local communities के लिए special और unique होते हैं.
而且你永远也不知道下一个全球化的热点发生在这个星球的什么地方。
Darum haben wir mit IGN eine der globalsten Medienmarken der Welt geschaffen.
ולא רק בגיימינג, כמעט בכל נושא ברשת.
세계 곳곳에 있는 IGN 팀원들이
Somos a única e verdadeiramente global marca de mídia de games e entretenimento.
IGN never sleeps. IGN slaapt nooit. Zodat jij niks hoeft te missen.
So that you never miss a beat.
Či ide o novinky alebo udalosti, na ktorých záleží?
O próximo grande anúncio exclusivo no IGN.
Anda tidak akan ketinggalan.
Te tenemos cubierto.
Sme tu pre vás.
És ha már az IGN területről területre eltérő egy picit.
Insieme siamo una sola famiglia globale.
Eén globale stem.
Tek global sesle.
Один глобальный голос.
One global voice.
Para superfans en todos lados.
За sve superfanove svuda.
Me superfans padu.
For superfans everywhere.
We are IGN.
私たちは IGN です。
우리는 IGN입니다.
我们就是 IGN.
Nós somos IGN.
Het nummer 1 mediamerk voor games en entertainment.
Worldwide.
전 세계로.
حول العالم. それも全世界で Worldwide.
Welcome back to IGN Fan Fest. Up next, here's the panel for Invincible, the Amazon Prime Video animated series based on the long-running comic from the creator of The Walking Dead, which we're kicking off with an extended clip from the show. Check it out.
Comic fans have been aware for quite some time that Invincible is a phenomenal superhero story, and now it is leaping onto a smaller screen on Amazon Prime Video. The first 3 episodes are premiering on March 26th, and I am pleased to be joined by creator Robert Kirkman, as well as the stars of the show, Steven Yeun, J.K. Simmons, Gillian Jacobs, Zazie Beetz, Jason Mantzoukas, and... oh, that's me in the corner. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hey,
Hello.
That's you in the spotlight, Max. That's you in the spotlight.
It's losing my self-esteem. So this is an awesome show. This is a phenomenal comic that's been going on for quite some time, and now it's turning into a cartoon show, like a nice family-friendly cartoon for for all ages, right? Something like that.
It's a very mature show, very much like the comics. It's also essentially an hour-long drama that just happens to be animated, which is very cool. But, I'm going to let my kids watch it, but I'm not the best parent, so I wouldn't recommend it for everyone.
I love it. Now, before we just get to fully talking, we actually have a clip, an exclusive clip to show off right here. Steven, do you want to set us up and kind of let us know what we're in for here?
Sure. I think it's about me. Or about, I'm in it.
That's about it. Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, I'm in this one.
As you can see, the scene is absolute chaos as the Mauler twins.
Looks like Dad's saving the White House.
Alone?
Guardians are there too.
Who are they fighting? Oh, Mauler twins. Looks like we won't be getting breakfast together this morning. Bummer.
It's the White House, Mom. Kinda important?
Oh, they rebuild that thing twice a year at this point. If it's not Doc Seismic, it's the Lizard League or someone else. I doubt the president still lives there.
I'm not too late. I'm gonna shower.
Not so fast. Come here first.
Don't make me get the spray bottle.
Now, let's get you out of that costume.
Boundaries, people. Bathroom doors are closed for a reason, and parents should never ever talk about sex in front of their kids.
You should be overjoyed to see your parents passionately expressing their love for each other. Now stop griping and get ready for school.
Couldn't you at least wait until I leave the house? For college?
What were you thinking? Paris?
Actually, I was kind of pulling for that little cafe in Berlin. Been jonesing for those sausages.
Oh man, you guys are going to Best Worst? I love that place.
You've got school. When your powers kick in, you can go on your own.
Salt on the wound, Dad.
They've got to be due any day now, son. Even the latest bloomers on Viltrum would get their powers before what would be their 18th birthday. You'll see.
Don't get his hopes up.
Bye, have fun. I'll just be walking on the ground with my feet. Morning. Yeah, just trying to break in these new shoes.
Mauler twins attacked the White House. Nuts, right?
I saw.
I can't believe the Guardians of the Globe let them get that close to killing the president.
They didn't even get into the building. And Omni-Man was there too.
You're such an Omni-maniac. Way to root for the underdog. Big fan of the Yankees, are you? Sure, he's hot and all. And that mustache. Sorry, okay. Straight stuff. You up for some Clash Crash tonight? I'm hoping for a level 43 chest armor. Don't bring up that stupid job, man. Don't be that person.
When's the last time you bought a comic book? Those things are expensive. And they're doing Seance Dog twice a month, all summer.
You're into the stupidest stuff.
Knock it off, Todd.
Come on. Quit playing games. I know you're crazy about me. Marcy told me.
Well, you are big and strong, aren't you?
You know it.
And you think that makes it okay for you to harass me?
Don't walk away from me. What are you, a lesbian or something?
Oh my god, I wish. Would you leave me alone then? Let go of me so I can go find a girl to kiss.
Don't. Guy's twice your size.
Maybe you can just sit back and watch this? I can't.
I can because I'm not Omni-Man, and neither are you.
Let's see. I think Amber's been pretty clear about how she feels, Todd.
What? Are you serious, Grayson?
Leave him alone!
What are you looking at?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Close one. Ah. It's about time.
So there we have the magic of superhero puberty, and Mark going from very clearly quite vincible to the beginnings of being invincible. Steven, Zazie, JK, you were all voicing in that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your respective characters? Steven, obviously we can start with you.
Yeah, I play Mark Grayson. He's a 17-year-old boy. He is half human, half Viltrumite. His dad is maybe the most powerful superhero on planet Earth, and he has a lot to live up to. Maybe.
Now, JK, you have sort of famously played non-superpowered characters who are like superhero adjacent. You're J. Jonah Jameson, you're Commissioner Gordon, but now you're finally playing an actual superhero. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the most powerful superhero on the planet, just to be clear. No, it's a lovely promotion, and this was a really fun universe to join in animated land. Stephen and Sandra and I actually did a fair amount of work together, actually playing scenes, which is a nice change from the usual, one guy in a booth by himself that most animated shows end up doing.
Nice. Zazie, you've also kind of dabbled with superheroes. I would say you've sort of been alongside two of the most deranged, Joker and Deadpool, but in sort of different directions there. And then you've got Mark, who's like, is fairly mild-mannered. Do you want to tell us about that relationship?
Yeah. So I play Amber, and I am a schoolmate of Mark's. I'm a strong, I have a strong personality, strong points of views on what I believe is sort of justice and equity, and which I think kind of juxtaposes well with the superhero persona and what is right and what is wrong and what is the actual definition of being a hero. So that's Amber.
We actually have a Twitter question from Abdullah Khan. This is primarily directed at Robert, but I'm sure it's going to put you on the spot a little bit. Out of the main cast, which character was the most difficult to find the perfect actor for until you found said actor? You've obviously had these characters in your head for quite some time.
I'm lucky. I mean, I guess because I've had the experience on Walking Dead, I try not to, think about like fan casting and, ooh, this would be the perfect person for this, like when I'm doing the comic. And that allows me to sit back and, watch the possibilities, happen before me and get excited about everything. I would make a joke about the hardest part was trying to find someone else to play Mark so we didn't have to fall back on Steven. But, you can see from the cast, it's an absolute murderer's row of fantastic actors. And, once the possibilities were presented to us, we started reaching out and people were, willing. And so, we had a pretty easy process with it. And we ended up with, I think, the best cast that any television show has ever had in the history of anything.
Now, Invincible has fairly straightforward superpowers. Gillian, you play Adam Eve. Can you explain her powers if anyone isn't familiar with them?
I'm going to throw that back to Robert. Robert?
They're quite complicated. Adam Eve can rewrite matter at an atomic level. And so that means that she can change the density of air around her to allow her to fly. And she can also, turn a coffee cup into a bullet and whatever else a scene needs. I like to think of her as a writer's character, where you have a character that exists that can allow a writer to do whatever it is they want to do. So she's quite fun, but she's extremely powerful.
Steven, this is kind of a Walking Dead reunion in a lot of ways. When did Robert first talk to you about this, and what was that like, kind of getting to work with him again?
I don't know if I remember the time. Robert just hit me up kind of randomly and said, I'm doing Invincible. Would you come in and kind of like help me realize part of this script? He wanted me to come in and just play around in the booth. And we did this really cool scene that I really enjoyed about 2 security guards that I think is going to be in it. But it's a beautiful scene, and it really made me understand like what he was trying to make. And then not too long after, he asked me if I would play Mark. And for me, I love Robert, and also like having had that experience reading some of the script that he wrote and where the show was going, I was super stoked to be part of it. So, I mean, who doesn't want to be Invincible?
So Gillian, Adam Eve is on a team with Jason's character, Rexplode. What's their relationship like? Can you tell us about that?
They are dating. I'm allowed to say that, I think, right, Jason? It's not a reveal.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
okay.
when we find Adam Eve and Rexplode, the character I play, which I want to just reiterate again is the most powerful superhero in the Invincible universe. We are on the teen team, which is kind of the teenage team that falls under the Guardians of the Globe, which is kind of the adult superhero team. We're on the team that's made up primarily of teenagers, and we are dating. And we decided to both wear the same shirts.
You both have like tasteful potted plants and nice shirts. It's lovely. Now, Jason, Rexplode has
be
this
drowning in action figures, Max. We can't all be like surrounded by a thousand action figures. And not to blow you up totally, but before we started, when I came on and it was just me on the thing, you were talking to those figures. You were like,
I thought I was muted. I didn't.
It's cool. It's okay.
Jar Jar Binks on a motorcycle. What's not to love? Anyway,
I mean, why is that so available to you?
I don't even. We shouldn't be talking about my. Isn't there a scene in Invincible where they make fun of him for having action figures? Did I imagine that? I thought it was about sort of celebrating the nerd culture to a certain degree.
These are actors, man. They're playing characters on Invincible. These guys hate you, nerd.
Oh man,
take those action figures down.
Oh, no way. Hey, we love you.
No.
Anyway, speaking of which.
Actors love to beat up nerds. Yeah, the actors, the most macho of the arts.
I don't know how to segue to this next one, but we got a fan question from Mega Brain Comics and Arcade on Twitter, who sounds like a real jock, if you ask me.
Hey Robert, John Michelle from Mega Brain Comics. It was a huge achievement creating a superhero comic like Invincible, where you sort of leaned into all the things that we love about the superhero genre, while at the same time subverting all the cliches. So my question to you is, was there a particular trope that you kind of turned on its head that you are particularly proud of, and why?
You know, one thing that we did in Invincible that I really liked that we've done, we ended up doing a couple of times over the course of the run, which, you know, maybe a spoiler for season 7 of the show, I don't know. But we did a lot of cool things where the villain actually won. You know, I think that in all superhero stories, the end of the story is usually the hero winning in some cases, you know, in some way. And so I love that we were able to turn that on its head in more than one instance and actually have the villains succeed in their plan. And because Invincible was a long-running series, we got to deal with the aftermath of that for a very, very long time. So I think that was kind of cool.
Can I say something that I really like about Invincible that I think you did that doesn't get done a lot? And this is in earnest. I think that things that happen in Invincible stay having happened. Like a lot of times in long-running comic series, they'll undo events simply so they can keep telling the same stories. And Invincible, I think when something bad happens, that bad thing becomes baked into the story, and the people have to deal with those repercussions forever. And that's compelling to watch or read.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the fun of the series because it was long running and because, you know, it was all in one series. A lot of superhero comics have to deal with being as part of a big universe. Like, we could do anything in Invincible and just be like, okay, well, the moon cracked in half and we have a half moon world and there's just going to be a half moon forever now. You know, we could do stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by that, and I was, I'll admit it, unfamiliar with this whole universe. So, I mean, it was all new to me, and the thing that I found most challenging and enjoyable as an actor was just taking the relationships, you know, my two primary relationships with my son and my daughter, you know, or my wife, my daughter, my sister, my mother, and you know, just taking them off the page and trying to thank you, Dr. Freud, trying to, you know, make them believable characters.
Now, this is sort of a question for Gillian and for Steven and for Jason. You're all, you know, without throwing into the bus here, you're all adults and you're playing teenagers. And, you know, teenagers they go through some things, and there's this kind of weird mixture of, you know, being kind of awkward and kind of out of it, and sort of, you know, you're going through a lot of stuff and you're figuring it out, but at the same time, you're playing characters who need to be like human and compelling. How do you find that balance? Steven, we saw some sort of teen awkwardness in the clip we showed.
You know, that is tough at times. I think I kind of look at it more holistic, and you pick moments to kind of embellish where he might be a little bit more juvenile, but I'm excited for people to get to see like Mark throughout his arc and how he grows and comes into himself. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, 17 is an angsty time.
Adam Eve is more confident than I am. So I don't have to dredge up the feelings of insecurity. I just have to pretend to be a superhero.
Yeah, and I think for Rex, it was really just a matter of he is so uncomfortable with his emotionality and has very little control over his emotions, and that level of emotional immaturity is covered over with a thin facade of bluff and bluster, which to me feels very much like teenage kid trying to act normal, but not really understanding he's always revealing how insecure he is, no matter the fact that he's so handsome and the most powerful superhero on earth.
Again with this, come on.
But he is handsome, you can agree that, you know. The rest is for the nerds to argue in the comments about, but, you know.
Robert called me and he said, I want you to be in Invincible. And I was like, I'll only play a character if he's a stone cold hunk. and he was like, "Buddy, have I got a role for you?"
Zazie, you play.
I mean, the same way you
Amber.
do with all your live action stuff, really.
This is
Absolutely. Thank you, JK. Thank you, JK.
Yes.
I was gonna say, Zazie, you play a regular human person. Like, you don't have superpowers. How does that feel? Are you like, I don't have a cool code name, I'm Amber, or are you having fun with it?
I mean, yes, I do feel a little bit like a muggle amongst wizards here, but yeah, I actually would love to be a superhero, but I'm not. But that's also okay. And I actually think it's a really great sort of parallel to everything Mark is going through, and even Adam Eve. I feel like they're struggling with what does it mean to be strong and to have all these abilities but still have immense insecurity. And like I think she's sort of this like a grounded sense of, you can be a good person and you can be a hero without needing to be strong, and that doesn't need to be the definition of what makes you a positive force in the world. And I think that the superhero characters kind of need to deal with that. And so I think it's sort of an important I guess direct tie-in into the audience for everyone else who isn't super.
No, I mean we also we showed a clip where you're the only one kicking anyone's ass, like you whacked the bully right in his junk. So now we have another video question from a young fan named Gregory. Let's take a look.
Hi everybody, my name is Greg Miller. I make stuff on the internet, and Robert Kirkman rode past me in a golf cart once at San Diego Comic-Con and insulted me. And then I went and hosted a panel with him, and I didn't insult him back, and I've regretted it every day. But I digress. My question is this. I've recommended Invincible to many people many times over all these years of being a huge Invincible fan. And the one thing I always tell them is stick around through the first twist. Like, Invincible starts as a very traditional superhero story, and then I think does something that establishes itself as a series that's going to subvert your superhero expectations. How are you handling that in an episodic series? Obviously, people have such short attention spans, right? You don't want them to tune into the first episode, think it's just this is Superman for all intents and purposes, and bounce out. How are you taking what makes Invincible special and getting to that kicker without ruining it early, or are you just doing it the normal way of the comic book? How are you wrestling with people's expectations?
Yeah, the fact that there are big, twists down the road is, I think, the fact that there are lots of interesting twists along the way really kind of, hopefully battles that, short attention, 21st century attention span. But really, more importantly, I want to know what the insult was that you hurled at that guy from your golf cart.
It could have been anything. I mean, do you think that guy? Why would I remember? I barely know who Greg Miller is.
No, I want to know from him. I know you don't remember.
I'm sure he remembers. No, I love Greg. Let me just say this. We were aware of that situation, and I will say that having written the comic, the big twist does happen possibly deeper in the run than it maybe should have. But I will say that if you've read Invincible, there are so many big twists and so many other things. It's possible that moving things up would have allowed us to have other things, loaded that would have happened right after that. So it wouldn't have made it, wouldn't have messed things up. It's possible that we moved twists in front of twists. It's possible that, all kinds of different things have happened in the adaptation of this comic book series. But what I will say is we hit the ground running. And I don't think anybody is going to be sitting around going, well, this isn't an interesting show. When's something cool going to happen? Because cool things are happening almost nonstop on this show. So Greg is going to be very happy. I've had to stop myself many times from texting him clips from this show because I know he's going to be very excited when he sees some of this stuff. And I know a lot of the fans out there are going to feel the same. So this is going to be a great show.
Are you willing to promise a twist in every episode, a chicken in every pot?
I think definitely. There's sometimes more than one.
Oh,
we've got it recorded right there.
You're saying some eps might have double twists?
I'm going to say the pot runneth over with chicken.
Okay.
2 cars in every garage, 2 twists.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
2 twists, 3 chickens, 4 cars. No, I think that's something that we should address, is that, like, this is, at a glance, a very, it's a colorful, very primary color superhero show, and it's got levity, it's got humor, but it also gets pretty brutal and it gets pretty dark. I'd like to talk to the cast of sort of how was it seeing the finished product? Were you like, I did not expect it to get that bad, or was it like they prepared me for this? Gillian?
Well, that was, something I loved about the scripts when I read them and then performing them and then now getting to see the episodes. I think that this is truly a brilliant comic that Robert's created, and I think it's a show that is unlike anything that I certainly watched growing up, and I think I would have loved to have had this show around, and I can't wait for people to see it. And yes, it gets violent, I think is a safe word to use.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've also read all of Invincible, and it's like, I think the juxtaposition of like the classic superhero storytelling with like the savage brutality of these action set pieces is going to be incredibly fun to watch, especially kind of as Robert said at the beginning, which I think really is to be noted. This is like a 1-hour show. So you are sitting inside of this story for an hour. It's not like quick, like bite-sized colorful candy. It is like, this is a story that has like really savage brutality, which is pretty rad.
Would you say Invincible is the goriest cartoon ever?
Well, I think it's what I really appreciate about the violence in Invincible is that violence is terrible, right? Violence has repercussions, and you don't often see that, and I think that's one of the many things that, along with, the real sort of, yin yang of it to me is that good drama almost never works without some good comic elements as well, to just kind of keep it grounded in some kind of reality that people can relate to. So those 2 extremes, I think, are big parts of what make it work for me.
Would you show it to your kids? Or is it?
My kids are 22 and 19, so, yeah.
They're probably target age range there. But yeah, it's definitely, family drama filled, but not necessarily family friendly. Now, one last question before we go. Oh.
I was just gonna say I don't have kids, but I've been going around the neighborhood trying to show it to kids, and it's gone poorly.
Look, I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Yo, check this out.
15-year-old son, and I need Jason to give them back. But no, I let them watch the show, and they loved it. So I don't know if you should necessarily let your 12-year-old watch it, but my daughter quite enjoyed it, and she's kind of normal.
Well, 12 is the new 17, really. So maybe you don't want to go into single digits with the audience, but
sure.
Nice. Well, it is definitely a very brutal animated series. I am excited for more people to see it. Before we go, Robert, we've heard sort of rumors and rumblings of the possibility of a live-action Invincible movie. Can you say anything about that?
I mean, it's it's in the works. It's taking a lot longer than this animated series took, but I wouldn't rule it out for the future. And things are looking pretty good.
You can go ahead and lay it out right there now that Jason is going to play the most gorgeous, powerful superhero ever created.
Are none of us getting rehired for the movie?
Well,
I'm sorry, my question would be, you're already making it Invincible as an animated series. Why not make the Rexplode as the movie? The Rexplode movie.
Right, okay.
Oh my.
I think that shows promise. I think that's good. Anyway, the first 3 episodes of Invincible premiere on March 26th on Amazon Prime Video, and there will be a new one every subsequent week after that. Check it out. It kicks ass. It's very cool. Thank you all so much for joining me and hanging out, and I'm excited to hear your voices more on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See y'all.
Wow, what a day. Today we saw time-traveling video game assassins, superheroes, Godzilla, King Kong, and a chosen one with the power to control light. This is like if you made an entire convention out of my 7th grade notebook drawings. It is awesome.
My my 7th grade notebook had notes and homework in it. It doesn't seem like you paid a lot of attention in school.
Well, you nerd, guess what? We both ended up right here. So whatever happened, happened. Ha ha.
I was a nerd. Speaking of things happening right here, though, we want you back right here tomorrow for day 2 of FanFest, where we're going all out with exclusive panels for Batman Beyond, Netflix's Jupiter's Legacy, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and so much more.
And you can get all the details at fanfest.ign.com and get involved by posting with the hashtag FanFest. And don't forget, you can check us out on your smart TV from the comfort of your living rooms on IGN One. Find us on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Plex.
And from all of us here at IGN, thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Let's high five. Can we do it? Let's do a high five. Just gotta put it here. That's perfect. They can add a clap sound effect in post. FanFest.
Still using those tiny phones and tablets to watch IGN? Give your eyeballs a rest because IGN has moved to your living room. Get first looks and in-depth reviews of the most talked about titles.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Pleasure to be here. And take a front row seat to the biggest events of the year. Tune in on your Samsung TV Plus, Pluto, and Plex and take a load off. Tune in to IGN One.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.